Chronicles of the Stellar Mecha War. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 301 Three Sad Faces. In the following days, Lin Fan went to Zioao Sec to learn weapons every day, without a day's rest. Lezing Yuan-King originally wanted to teach her as a junior sister. Later, although she didn't have a good foundation, she could learn the moves as soon as she learned them, and seemed to be quite gifted. Moreover, she was not as delicate as ordinary children, and she could endure hardships. He secretly admired her in his heart, and taught her more attentively. Lin Fan was tired like a dead dog every day. If he hadn't been holding her hand, she probably couldn't get off the stone steps. I don't know what Lezing Yuan-King did. Every time she was exhausted, as long as he gently held her hand, she would feel less tired. Did I pass on my internal energy to you? Wang Fengfeng guessed. He came to the cafeteria to eat today, and happened to meet Lin Fan and John Wu. Of course, he had to sit at the same table. Really? Lin Fan held a chicken leg in his mouth. I don't feel anything. I just don't feel that tired. Shouldn't there be a feeling of surging true energy when transferring internal energy? Two pairs of eyes, one big and one small, looked at Wu Yusen inquiringly, asking him for confirmation. Wu Yusen put down his chopsticks helplessly. He didn't know either, did he? He didn't have the chance to get in touch with these. But isn't it said that the eldest brother is a master of swordsmanship? Lin Fan's weapon is not a sword, right? He can teach it all? Wang Fengfeng saw that Wu Yusen couldn't answer, so he didn't make it difficult and quickly skipped the topic. I know this. Wu Yusen finally spoke, and his heart was relieved. The eldest brother is proficient in all 18 kinds of weapons, but he is best at swordsmanship. The so-called 18 kinds of weapons are just an overview, and no one really thinks that there are 18 kinds of weapons. A person who has practiced swordsmanship to the extreme cannot be completely ignorant of other weapons. After all, when the enemy fights, there are all kinds of weapons and skills. If you can't master them thoroughly, you can't defeat the enemy. And although Xingqian's weapons are strange, they can be roughly regarded as short daggers and two-handed swords, which are not far from the weapons that the eldest brother is best at. There is also a double-headed spear, that is one of the common weapons. It is not difficult for the senior brother. If Lin Fan can learn 60% to 70% of the moves from the senior brother, it will be enough. Wow, it looks so cool. As a dead otaku, Wang Fengfeng is interested in many things. He likes mechas, martial arts, two-dimensional and cute girls. It must be said that with the addition of Wang Fengfeng, Lin Fan's dining atmosphere instantly became much more lively. Everyone must have met the kind of friends who love to make jokes. Most of the things they say are meaningless, but they always make people feel happy. Wang Fengfeng is such a person. His exaggerated words and expressions reminded Lin Fan of Li Chunhua. But compared to Li Chunhua's stupidity, Wang Fengfeng is obviously smarter and more shameless. Days passed one by one. As the intensity increased, fatigue gradually accumulated. In the morning, after breakfast with Wu Yusen, he went up the mountain to study. At noon on the mountain, the senior brother would prepare a meal. After going down the mountain, he was exhausted. After dinner, he went back to the dormitory and fell asleep. With such a busy schedule, Lin Fan was so tired that she didn't have the energy to pay attention to other things. She hadn't even picked up her phone for a long time. The only entertainment was the chat with Wang Fengfeng during dinner. On this day, Lin Fan put her head on the table, her eyes empty, waiting for Wu Yusen to bring the meal. She was too tired, but she didn't dare to ask for leave from her senior brother. Thinking that she would be 20 in a few days, Lin Fan encouraged herself in her heart. She could rest after a few more days. Where's Wu Jet? Wang Fengfeng put the tray on the table and asked. After knowing that they were all in the restaurant at this time, he came to join in the fun every day. Looking around, he saw Yusen's figure, walking towards this side with a tray in each hand. There was also Jin Sichen next to him, also holding a tray in each hand, and took a lot of things for Lin Fan. Wang Fengfeng looked at the listless look of the little Lin Fan in front of him. Mecha, martial arts, cute girls, how can they be concentrated on one person? Isn't this going to kill him? Speaking of life, and thinking of the morning news, Wang Fengfeng suddenly felt unhappy. He leaned back in his chair with a sad face. What's wrong? His performance was too obvious for Lin Fan to notice. You don't know yet? Wang Fengfeng raised his eyebrows. There was a fight. What do you mean by a fight? Lin Fan didn't understand. Fighting is not allowed within the Special Affairs Office. There is a special place for sparring, and the punishment for fighting is very serious. It's the Byahan country. Wang Fengfeng realized that Lin Fan hadn't watched today's news yet, and was about to explain to her, but was interrupted by Wu Yusen. Why are you telling her this? Wu Yusen glanced at him unhappily. She is so tired from being with the senior brother all day. She can't help. Why do you let her worry about that? Wang Fengfeng suddenly remembered that Lin Fan was a sensitive person, who was easily distracted by trivial matters and easily fell into negative emotions. So in order to reduce her psychological burden, everyone tried not to let her get in touch with some bad news. He saw that Lin Fan was doing well recently, so he forgot about it for a while. She scratched her head in embarrassment and stopped talking. What's wrong with Byahan country? Lin Fan picked up the food handed over by Wu Yusen and looked at them. It would be fine if they didn't know anything, but it's really uncomfortable that they didn't continue talking just after they started talking, isn't it? Nothing. Wu Yusen made up his mind not to say anything and smiled at her soothingly. Lin Fan is not a real child. How could he be so perfunctory? Wang Fengfeng looked left and right, but didn't look at her, so she could only turn her eyes to Jin Sichen. Okay, don't stop me. It's not a bad thing to let her know. Jin Sichen, who was not around, had a cold face and was too lazy to smile. You knew. Wu Yusen frowned. Yes, I knew she was easy to empathize. Jin Sichen sat next to Lin Fan, pushed the tray in his hand towards her, took a bowl of 3 fresh vermicelli casserole from it, and put it in front of herself. But she already knows the beginning. If you don't tell her now, she can still find out later. Jin Sichen was hiding it at first, but now that it's out, there's no need to cover up the truth. And Xingchen is like this. Sooner or later she will have to deal with these things. Jin Sichen said. Wu Yusen and Wang Fengfeng sighed at the same time. Instead of giving her a sudden stimulation at that time, it's better to let her get used to it slowly now. It takes a gradual process for her to adapt to the mind. What's going on? Lin Fan had never seen the three of them look so serious at the same time. Wu Yusen didn't say anything. He always had a smile. Although he would have a cold face sometimes, Lin Fan knew that it was mostly related to him. Wang Fengfeng, on the other hand, was a prankster. She was surprised to see him with a sad face just now. As a happy otaku, Wang Fengfeng understood the essence of self-entertainment. He could have fun, even if there was nothing to do. How could there be something that could make him worry? Jin Sichen is the same. After he stops smiling, he has the arrogance of it has nothing to do with me. If all of you mortals die, why is he so serious all of a sudden? Did someone beat him to the door of the Special Affairs Office? What's the worry? No tickets, no interaction. Today, when I went to the reading end, I accidentally found that soy sauce Zero Fifi had drawn Zero Lin Fan for me. Wow, isn't this the treatment of a big boss? It's so beautiful. Then I felt ashamed again. Haven't I been learning to draw recently? I thought I was drawing well, hahaha, and now I suddenly found my right position. Soy sauce, I want to copy your picture to learn. Okay. Then I was moved. How can I let down such a good reader? I'm trying my best to write well. Yesterday, a new reader left a message saying it was beautiful, haha, happy, and she also asked me not to write watery text. Well, actually, I have never had the idea of writing watery text subjectively. That is, maybe I don't have a good grasp of the technology, and the writing is too fragmented, right? I'm revising it. After all, I haven't had a break for 6 months. I really want to finish it as soon as possible and have a good rest. The plot I wrote recently is completely different from the previous one. It's very complicated. I don't know if it can be published smoothly. I'm worried. Well, I'll write it first. If it can't be published, I'll talk about it later. The progress is already accelerating. Well, I hope the following plot can satisfy everyone. Muah. Chapter 302. The fight begins. Of course, it was impossible for the Special Affairs Office To be beaten to the door. Someone else was beaten to the door. What? Lin Fan lost his grip on the spoon and dropped it into the bowl with a clang. A fight broke out. Yes, it happened this morning. Wang Fengfeng saw that everything had been said, so he didn't care anymore. But, why? Lin Fan was stunned. War, in her opinion, was a very distant thing. Lin Fan took out her mobile phone and opened the news. Sure enough, the screen was full of news. She looked at the chaotic scene, the collapsed buildings, the people fleeing in disgrace, and the crying children. The whole world was shocked by this sudden outbreak. In the news software of the day, everyone was reporting from top to bottom. The usual mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, idle news all disappeared. Lin Fan looked around and saw nothing but these, and he couldn't bear it anymore. He put down his mobile phone and sighed. It's just a pity for the people. No matter what happens, the people at the bottom are always the hardest. They are powerless to resist and can only go with the flow. Thanks for our current life. After seeing those tragic scenes, Lin Fan's heart was churning, and he felt more and more that peace was precious. Thanks for our current life. Thanks for our current life. The other three responded one after another. Lin Fan suddenly understood what Jin Sichen meant by what he said before. No matter how strong Xingchen is, a label is also a weapon. Weapons will definitely be used in such occasions. They thought that the war was far away from them, but they didn't expect it to break out. This forced everyone to be vigilant and face other unknown threats at any time. This is also the reason why Jin Sichen decided not to implement the previous protection mechanism and let her know the real situation. It also sounded a wake-up call for them. Because of the impact of this incident, Lin Fan seemed absent-minded when studying for the next 2 days. After Lezing Yuanqing found out, he asked her what was going on, and Lin Fan said it all at once. Power disputes have existed since ancient times. Lezing Yuanqing thought it was something else. Countless people have died for this, and now it's just a big commotion. Lin Fan was a little surprised to see that Lezing Yuanqing was completely unmoved. Big brother. In the past, when dynasties changed, which one didn't achieve success with the sacrifice of thousands of men? Lezing Yuanqing had seen many dead people, so naturally, she wouldn't see a junior sister like Lin Fan. But, it's different. Lin Fan subconsciously refuted, but she couldn't really tell what was different. It's the same. Lezing Yuanqing sneered. People are like this. No matter how many years have passed, they will always be crazy about fame, wealth, and desire. That's why there is a saying that things that have been separated for a long time will reunite, and things that have been reunited for a long time will be separated. Lin Fan shook her head slowly, not knowing what she was denying. You can't accept it, because you are still young. Big brother looked at the little girl in a daze, sighed secretly, and touched her soft hair. War. It is destined to kill people. I'm not young anymore. Lin Fan refuted weakly. She was 37 years old, not young anymore. Big brother chuckled, didn't argue with her, and continued to touch her little head gently. Hearts just slowly harden in the long river of time. How could he explain to a child the mountains of corpses and seas of blood he had seen? The eldest brother was still stern, but he did not blame Lin Fan for her laziness due to her emotions, but just told her not to think too much. After so many days of getting along with each other, Lin Fan was sure that he was just a good man who got an anger bug because of practicing martial arts. Putting this aside, there was no essential difference between the eldest brother and Song Ren. In a blink of an eye, it was the 18th. Eldest brother, I can't come tomorrow because I have to meet the big leader. Lin Fan finished his teaching task for the day and reported in advance. Huh? He wants to see you? The eldest brother looked at Lin Fan with disgust. This little girl has only been learning for a few days. What is there to see? Except for a face, there is nothing to see. But he is not a nosy person, so he didn't ask too much. Nodding, I will come back to check your homework. After that, he helped her tidy up her clothes and walked down the mountain holding her hand. Wu Yusen was waiting by the boundary stone. When he saw the two people slowly approaching, he was about to say thank you when he heard the eldest brother ask, is there anyone following her when she goes out? When he looked up, the eldest senior brother glared at him with disdain, and his tone was not polite. Yes, I will follow her the whole time to protect her. The director and Dr. Wen will also be with her. Wu Yusen learned some things from Lin Fan, so he naturally would not care, and did not dare to care, and replied with a smile. The eldest senior brother glanced at him, said nothing, and turned away. Wu Yusen's smile froze at the corner of his mouth. What should I do? Although I can't beat him, this stubborn temper is still annoying. The next day, Wu Yusen drove the Prado, and took Lin Fan, Zhu Kunjin and Wenji to the high-speed rail station. The four of them traveled lightly. Lin Fan carried a small carry-on bag, and Wu Yusen had a luggage bag and a backpack. The luggage bag contained his own luggage and Lin Fan's snacks. The backpack contained the clothes of the little Lin Fan, the clothes of the big Lin Fan, and the combat uniform. Because it was uncertain when Lin Fan would return to his original size, when going out, adult clothes should be prepared at any time, just in case. Zhu Kunjin and Wenji carried a small suitcase. Originally, they were planning to drive on the road, but it would take more than 10 hours, and the journey was too long. It only takes 4.5 hours to get there by high-speed rail. The size conversion under the influence of Yanjing usually occurs at night when sleeping, so there is basically no need to worry that Lin Fan will suddenly grow bigger on the road. The four of them arrived at number 49 smoothly. The car of the Special Affairs Office had already been waiting outside the station and sent them directly to Guotai. Lin Fan, who entered Guotai for the first time, didn't dare to breathe. After a series of security checks and verification procedures, they were respectfully sent to the hotel to rest. After they were settled and tidied up a little, Zhu Kunjin came to knock on the door of several people. Come on, I'll take you around Guotai, so that you won't be in vain. There was a guard every 3 steps and a sentry every 5 steps in Guotai. Although the 3 people who had never been there were curious, they didn't dare to walk around casually. But with Zhu Kunjin, who often went in and out of Guotai, leading them, the 3 naturally followed. Walking through the carved corridor, passing the red wall, and passing through the Solomon Sirius garden, they entered the cafeteria. Just as Lin Fan was thinking about what to eat in the evening, a familiar voice came from the side. Hey, isn't that Anka? Guess who this is? Well, do you know what I wrote? Hush, don't say anything. Chapter 303, sparing no efforts to poach. Lin Fan turned around. It was indeed Li Chunhua. After not seeing him for a month, he seemed to be even more silly. After seeing that it was indeed John Woo, he walked over quickly. Beside him were Song Ren, Ji and Gao Fei. Hey, is this someone from 623? Zhu Kunjin narrowed his eyes and looked at the 4 handsome guys coming over and said to John Woo, you young people, have fun. We will leave first. Have fun. After that, he took Wenji and left leisurely. He had already led the way here. As long as he went back the same way, there would be no problem. Brother Woo, why are you here? Li Chunhua hadn't seen John Woo for a while and asked with a smile. Who is that? They had just arrived at the National Taiwan University not long ago. Director Cui had left for something, so he asked someone to take them around. He was originally quite nervous. After all, it was the place where the big leaders stayed. The air seemed to be full of solemnity, which made him walk a little unnaturally. After finally arriving at the cafeteria, the smell of food just made him relax a little, and then he saw John Woo. At this moment, they forgot everything and greeted them naturally. I came with Lin Fan. Wu Yusen replied with a smile, nodding to them one by one. He glanced at Zhu Kunjin's back as he left. That's our director. He was afraid that he couldn't let us go, so he left first. Brother Wu, Ji and Gao Fei called people one after another. Song Ren nodded to him. His eyes fell on the little guy next to him. I always feel familiar. Song Ren frowned slightly. What about Lin Fan? Li Chunhua looked left and right, but didn't see a familiar figure. Hey. Wu Yusen gestured with his chin, asking them to look at the little girl who was laughing happily next to him. Hi. Hello everyone. Lin Fan was also very happy to see acquaintances, and didn't care about many other things, and waved his hand to greet them. The 3 people opposite were stunned, and only Song Ren showed an expression of expected. Lin Fan. Li Chunhua noticed her only after Wu Yusen reminded her. I thought it was Wu Yusen's child, but it turned out to be Lin Fan. That's right, Guotai is not an ordinary restaurant, and Wu Yusen's children are unlikely to be allowed in. Lee Chun-hua squatted down in disbelief and looked carefully. Ji-yu and Gao Fei also bent down. This look, this feeling, it's Lin Fan for sure. But why did it become like this? Everyone looked at Wu Yusen in unison. It's a long story. Wu Yusen rubbed his nose awkwardly, almost forgetting that these people would come. That's okay, we have one night. Lee Chun-hua smiled and picked up Lin Fan. Oh, I didn't expect Lin Fan to be so cute when he was a child. Will my Huan-Yu be like this in 2 years? Lee Chun-hua's daughter is more than half a year old, and he hasn't gone home to see her yet. Seeing Lin Fan, he couldn't help but feel like a father in advance. Lin Fan subconsciously reacted the moment he reached out, but soon realized that it was Lee Chun-hua and gave up resistance. Anyway, so many people have hugged him, and he doesn't need one more. Speaking of which, Lee Chun-hua is the most familiar with her. Ji-yu and Gao Fei approached her curiously and called her sister Lin. It was a little strange, but they couldn't help but be curious. They were eager to hug her, but they didn't dare to speak in the end. Lee Chun-hua held Lin Fan in one hand and the plate in the other, acting like a father. They were familiar with Lin Fan's appetite and food intake, and quickly put a bunch of food on the table, waiting to listen to Wu Yusen talk about what happened after Lin Fan left. Wu Yusen lived up to everyone's expectations and spoke with passion. By hiding the parts and details that could not be told, Lin Fan instantly turned into the heroine in an adventure novel. Wow. Lee Chun-hua asked Wu Yusen with shining eyes, is it really that magical? You will become younger after touching it? Yes, our special affairs office has a lot of good things, good treatment, high salary, and a lot of vacation, right Lin Fan? Wu Yusen smiled and bewitched the 800 people. Lin Fan didn't know his intention. When he heard that he was caught, he raised his head from the rice bowl and nodded, and said a few words. You can have fun at work, as long as you work hard. So good. Ji-yu looked doubtful. Hey, you don't believe me, but you also don't believe Lin Fan. Wu Yusen smiled more gently. Then, Lee Chun-hua wanted to ask more, but Song Ren coughed lightly to remind him, and suddenly found that he was led into a ditch by Wu Yusen. Brother Wu, you are not kind. He looked around. Fortunately there were only a few of them. If Cui Yan heard it, it would be bad. No, we are all serving the people. Wu Yusen knew that Zhu Kunjin had fought with Cui Yan in the past. In order to snatch Lin Fan, he didn't know how many times he was angry and how much benefit he gave up. As Zhu Kunjin's capable subordinate, he naturally had to spare no effort to help him retaliate. It's okay to pry the corner, just in case it is pried open. The 4 people in front of him are elite combat forces. Even if they are in the special affairs office, they are air talents. They can also make Cui Yan angry to death. So why not do it? Okay, Song Ren said, glancing at the little head that was eating seriously, and asked Wu Yusen. Besides her body becoming smaller, is there anything wrong with her in other aspects? Her physical strength and other aspects have also become smaller accordingly. Wu Yusen replied, there was nothing to hide. What about Xingqian? Has she been affected? Song Ren asked again. He knew that the big boss was meeting just to see Xingqian, and if Xingqian had any problems, Lin Fan would not be here at this time. But it would be more reassuring to confirm it in person. No, Xingqian is fine. Wu Yusen replied with a smile. Everything is normal. Song Ren looked at Lin Fan's black little head again, and asked Wu Yusen again. Wu Yusen looked at his deep eyes and smiled. Yes, everything is normal. He hesitated whether to tell them about the conversion. But what's the point of telling them? They are 800 people, and he and Lin Fan are from the special affairs office. If he told them, there would be no point, except to make more people worried. Song Ren looked at Wu Yusen for a few seconds, knowing that he could not tell them any more information he wanted, and turned his eyes away. Beside them, Lee Chun-hua and Lin Fan were chatting happily. It was still Lee Chun-hua who was talking, and Lin Fan would occasionally join in a few words. Ji-yu and Gao Fei would also join in the fun from time to time. Everything seemed to have returned to the time when they were in 800. But happy times are always short. No matter how long a meal takes, it will be over. Because they lived in different places and could not move around freely in Guote, they could only part at the entrance of the cafeteria. Looking at Lee Chun-hua's reluctant and artificial expression, Lin Fan giggled. We will see each other again tomorrow, okay? Do you want to be so naughty? Zhu Kunjin and Wenji had already returned to the room. Seeing them come back, they gave them a few more instructions on what to pay attention to tomorrow and let them rest early. Lin Fan was sleeping on the bed in Guote, and suddenly she wanted to call home and tell them where she was. But after thinking about it, she held back. She was excited and terrified. She was thinking about it and didn't know when she fell asleep. She had a beautiful dream. In the dream, the big boss held her hand and thanked her, then took her to the balcony. Below the balcony, the crowd was as dense as ants, cheering and calling Xingqian's name. She flew up when she was happy, flew into the crowd, and was passed around on their raised hands. Someone's hand loosened, and Lin Fan fell down and was squeezed into the crowd. She shouted not to squeeze, but the swarming crowd couldn't hear her at all. They kept pressing on her. Lin Fan felt she couldn't breathe. She felt like she was suffocating, and her whole body was pressed tightly. My life is over. She struggled to break free from the crowd, but it was getting tighter and tighter. Finally, someone stretched out his hand and strangled her neck tightly. Lin Fan woke up from the feeling of suffocation and immediately reached out to scratch her neck. The collar of her pajamas, which was loose and comfortable before going to bed, was firmly stuck on her neck, and the clothes on her body were also very uncomfortable. She tore her clothes with a force, gasping for breath, and took a few breaths of fresh air. She looked down. Ah. She's grown. My dears, something terrible has happened. Wasn't my article this morning locked up in the black room? I went to ask the editor for help, but got some bad news. This volume, International Mayhem, was originally about international disputes, the appearance of new mechas, the fighting of stars, chaos, and the connection to the alien invasion. But because of the sensitivity, I can't write it anymore. The outline of this entire volume, which is nearly 800,000 words, is equivalent to being scrapped and needs to be rethought. The tens of thousands of words that have been written in the back are also scrapped and need to be rewritten. This means that there may be a break in the following, because the outline of the middle part up to the arrival of the aliens has to be started all over again. And my mind is in a mess now, and I have no idea what plot should be used to fill in the gap in the middle. The editor suggested that I start a new article and write about popular topics, and the data will be better. I still want to persist and give Lin Fan an ending, to the extent that I can do it. I try to keep updating, but it's probably difficult to update twice a day. Please understand, my dears. I can do it. I can do it. Cheer for me. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 304 Return. Humans are really strange creatures. When she first became smaller, Lin Fan found it difficult to adapt to the huge size of various things in the outside world, and wondered every day when she could change back. But after so many days, she has adapted well to living in a small body, and when she returned to her normal size, she felt uncomfortable again. Lin Fan looked at the ceiling speechlessly. Why did she still feel a little reluctant? No, it's more convenient for adults. At least when you transform, you don't have to endure that kind of severe pain. It's really great to be able to change back at this time. Lin Fan took a long breath, tore off all the tattered and shapeless clothes, wiped the sweat off her body casually, and got up to take a shower in the bathroom. Fortunately, for comfort, she wore knitted pajamas with great elasticity. If it was woven material, it might really strangle her. After taking a shower, looking at the obvious red mark on her neck in the mirror, Lin Fan once again thanked her for her choice. It was just a little after 3 o'clock, and it was still dark outside. With nothing to do, she lay back on the bed and had a good sleep. This time she slept soundly without dreaming. Wu Yusen, however, was not as peaceful as her. He had been worried about the situation when little Lin Fan was about to transform. He woke up early in the morning and wandered around the room for a long time. When he saw that it was almost time, he came to the door of Lin Fan's room and called for help. He just raised his hand to knock on the door when it opened from the inside. At the familiar height of his sight, he did not see the expected little head, but a pair of strong and slender thighs. Wu Yusen was stunned for a moment. His eyes slowly moved up, looked at the person in the door, and smiled. Hey, what is Xiao Wu doing standing at the door? Zhu Kunjin and Wenji also came over. Is Lin Fan awake? Wu Yusen glanced at the two of them and took a step back. Lin Fan stepped out of the door and greeted the two with a smile. Zhu Kunjin didn't expect that. He was just confirming with Wenji how to deal with the various situations after Xiao Lin Fan's transformation, and whether to ask the people from the national Taiwan for help. Now he doesn't have to worry. Okay. Just change back. He smiled and looked at Lin Fan up and down. It's better this way. Wenji saw Lin Fan's normal size for the first time. After knowing that she suddenly recovered at night, he pulled her back to the house and did some basic tests. How is it? Zhu Kunjin asked after he stopped. It looks like everything is normal at the moment, Wenji replied. It seems that Yanjing's role is indeed limited to this. Well, that's good. Zhu Kunjin smiled and clapped his hands. In this way, today's meeting will definitely go more smoothly. Xiao Lin Fan's transformation has unstable factors. He submitted an application for an extension, but it was not approved. This is why Wenji also came with him. It's because he was afraid that Xiao Lin Fan would have an unexpected situation. This is good. There is nothing to worry about. I'm not needed anymore. Wenji also smiled. Now I don't have to go with you, so I can just take a break. Not everyone can be summoned by the big boss. In addition to those who are to be commended, their direct leaders will be accompanied and introduced. No unrelated personnel are allowed to enter. Wenji originally applied for little Lin Fan. Now that Lin Fan has recovered, he naturally has no place to use his skills, and has lost the qualification to enter. It's just right for us to be a companion. Wu Yusen smiled. He originally came to accompany Lin Fan. According to the original plan, after Lin Fan and the others left, he would be alone. Now it's just right for Wenji to be a companion. After seeing Lin Fan recover, everyone put down the heavy stone in their hearts and felt relieved. Let's go eat. Lin Fan, eat more. Zhu Kunjin greeted with a smile. Okay. Lin Fan responded generously. She put on a navy blue fur collar coat over her combat uniform to cover her exquisite curves in the combat uniform, and followed everyone out. Li Chunhua, who had just arrived at the cafeteria, was looking around, eagerly waiting for little Lin Fan. When he saw that the newcomer had returned to his original state and turned back into an adult, he couldn't tell whether he was happy or disappointed. Cui Yan also saw Zhu Kunjin, and after fighting with him with his eyes for a few rounds, he walked away. Let's go. Song Ren hooked Li Chunhua's neck and took him away. Cui Yan clearly had a bad relationship with the head of the Special Affairs Office, and it was not appropriate for them to get close to him now. Li Chunhua was not really stupid and cleverly left with his teammates. He also secretly turned back and winked at Lin Fan. When Lin Fan saw Cui Yan, he hesitated for a moment, wondering whether to go up and say hello. He was stunned for a moment when he saw him leave with a cold face, and then saw Li Chunhua's grimace and couldn't help laughing. Oh, the boy from 623 is still good, Zhu Kunjin said with a smile. With Lin Fan standing behind him, he was far better than Cui Yan. Ha. Yeah, I told them yesterday how good the treatment is in our institute. Wu Yusen also laughed. Two guys seemed to be interested. Really? Zhu Kunjin looked at him with appreciation. He didn't expect Xiao Wu to be so smart. He encouraged him. Then keep up the good work. Our institute needs such talents. Lin Fan listened to the conversation between the two and suddenly realized that they wanted to poach people. During the meal, she secretly asked Wu Yusen. Hey. Wu Yusen smiled and took a bite of the egg. It's just a show to piss off Cui Yan. It's impossible to really poach him. 800 spent countless efforts on the four of them, just like they did on Lin Fan. Poaching, basically, is impossible, but it's okay to piss off Cui Yan. Wu Yusen smiled and comforted Lin Fan. Besides, isn't there a chance of something happening? What if it succeeds? After knowing that they were joking, Lin Fan didn't take it to heart and tried hard to eat and drink. It attracted the attention of many people in Guote. But the people who work here are not completely ignorant. Although they feel strange, there is no extra discussion. Despite this, their gazes still made Lin Fan somewhat uncomfortable. She ate a little more and stopped eating. It's still good in the special affairs office. No one will feel strange. If you eat as much as you want, 800 is also okay. Lin Fan subconsciously looked for Song Ren and the others, but he didn't see them. They might have left. Seeing that Lin Fan had finished eating, ZHU Kunjin asked Wu Yusen and Wenji to go back by themselves, and he took Lin Fan to the reception hall. The further they walked, the more people stood guard and the more solemn the atmosphere became. Lin Fan couldn't help but feel a little nervous. It had been several months since she last met the big leader. Although she had looked into the eyes of the big leader at close range, the situation was urgent at that time and she didn't care about other emotions at all. But now, in the national stage, with the atmosphere of this special place, the image of the big leader who had already met once was infinitely extended, becoming taller and bigger, and became someone who was out of reach. I didn't expect it. A year and a half ago, she would never have thought that she would have a day when she would be personally received by a senior leader. The ancestral tomb of the old Lin family, there should be a big smoke coming out of it, right? My mentality was in a mess yesterday, and I haven't fully recovered yet. In July last year, the main plot was decided, but when I got here, I was suddenly told that I couldn't write anymore. I was really flustered. 3 volumes of plot, just when the exciting conflicts and fights were about to begin, it came to an abrupt end, which was very disappointing. It's also my fault, because I thought everyone would be happy to see foreigners being beaten. So I prepared a lot of things specially, ha ha ha. Who knew I couldn't write, ha ha ha. A newcomer has entered the restricted area, but the rules must be followed. I will quickly adjust and transition in the next 2 days, and then think about the subsequent plot again. Isn't it just a fresh start? What are you afraid of? Don't panic, stay calm, step over it, and I will win. Fist clenched. My babies are with me. Ami Tofu. Chapter 305 Metal. Not many people were received and commended this time. When Lin Fan was waiting outside the door, ZHU Kunjin would explain to her every time she saw someone go in. Lin Fan looked at the ordinary yet great people, who came out with medals on their faces, full of glory and pride, and felt a lot in her heart. How many people like them are making contributions in obscurity, leaving their personal gains and losses behind. It is really admirable. Lin Fan. ZHU Kunjin patted her shoulder lightly. It's our turn. Lin Fan came back to her senses and found that the place where there were many people just now was empty. Gao Fei and Jiu were walking into the door, and ZHU Kunjin was waiting for her. Oh, sorry, I was distracted. Lin Fan apologized quickly, but she didn't expect that she would be absent at this time. It's okay, don't be nervous. ZHU Kunjin smiled and comforted. It's normal for young people to be nervous for the first time. They are the last 2 people waiting to be received. When the 2 went in, the 5 people from 800 had already stood still and were waiting for them. Lin Fan stood up under the guidance of ZHU Kunjin. After a while, the big leader came out from another door. Just like Lin Fan remembered, he still looked kind and said with a smile before he approached, I've kept you waiting for a long time. I just received an urgent call. You are too polite. Cui Yan said this coldly. Lin Fan didn't expect him to still speak in this tone. It seems that he is really like that. Come on, introduce us to our warriors. The leader said with a smile. If there hadn't been the previous accident, they should have met that afternoon. The sudden enemy attack disrupted the plan, and they waited until today. Cui Yan took a step forward and walked to his side to introduce them one by one. There were only 5 of them this time. Before, when I was at the reviewing stand, I had actually seen the bionic armor of the 4 of them. Although it was just a glimpse, I had seen almost everything I should have seen. In addition, the Mecha was too large and inconvenient to transport, so I didn't bring it with me. The leader shook hands with Song Ren and the other 3, and personally pinned medals on their left chests. Thank you for your efforts to improve science and technology, and thank you for bravely standing up in times of crisis. He spoke kindly to each person he met. Song Ren and the others saluted with straight postures and replied in a sonorous voice. Serve the people. Soon, Jiu walked towards Lin Fan. Lin Fan saw Jiu out of the corner of his eye, and his heartbeat began to accelerate unconsciously. He swallowed nervously. He didn't dare to look around, and tried to straighten his body and stand straight. Lin Fan. He looked at the familiar, yet unfamiliar young girl in front of him, and thanked her sincerely. Thank you for your contribution to science. Thank you for not fearing danger, standing up and saving me and everyone else. Everyone who has watched the live video knows that, if Lin Fan hadn't blocked the attack of the green Mecha, not only him, but everyone present, would have been killed. Lin Fan saved his life and everyone else's life, and this credit is real. Lin Fan looked at the person in front of her, her mind churning. He was not as tall as she imagined. He was always smiling, and as amiable as the uncle next door, but the majesty on him was hard to ignore. Hearing the words of praise for herself, Lin Fan trembled, not knowing how to answer. Should she learn from Song Ren and the others? No, she was not in a position to respond like that. What should she do? What should she do? What should she do? Lin Fan felt that the CPU in her brain was about to burn, and finally blurted out, "You're welcome." Lee Chun-ho almost burst out laughing when she heard this, and she bit her lower lip with her teeth to hold it back. The leader knew at a glance that she was nervous, smiled and patted her shoulder, and comforted her. "Don't be nervous, I'm easy to talk to." After that, he smiled and took a medal from the hand of the person next to him, and wanted to put it on her head. Lin Fan quickly lowered her head. "Because we can't let people know the existence of Xingqian too early, we can only commend you in private. I'm sorry for putting you in such a difficult position." After putting the ribbon around her neck, he carefully adjusted the position of the big red ribbon and explained gently. Lin Fan obviously didn't feel wronged, but when she heard this, she couldn't help but feel sore in her eyes again. She quickly replied in a crisp voice, "No, I'm not wronged." The leader looked at the girl wearing the big red medal with satisfaction, and called the 800 people. "Come on, let's take a photo together." Lin Fan moved his head stiffly, and saw the 800 people coming over. The staff next to him brought 4 chairs, and Lin Fan was pressed on one of them. The leader sat next to Lin Fan, and Cui Yan sat next to him. Zhu Kunjun was next to Lin Fan, and the other 4 stood in the second row. Song Ren and Jiu stood in the middle, and Lee Chun-ho and Gao Fei stood on both sides. Lin Fan felt that his face was very stiff, and he could only grin at the camera, which must have been very stupid. After taking the photos, the leader asked to see the stars. Lin Fan took off her coat without saying anything. She came here for this. Everyone else stepped aside, leaving the middle space empty. The reception hall has a high ceiling, more than 3 meters and nearly 4 meters, which is enough for the stars to perform. In addition to the 2 secretaries, there were 4 bodyguards on the scene. The bodyguard Captain Shen Bei blocked the leader with one hand and half covered him with his body to prevent accidents, but was gently pushed away. "I believe in Lin Fan," he said. Lin Fan just handed the clothes and badge to Zhu Kunjun when he heard this, and his heart was warm. He came to the center of the open space and stood facing everyone. Lin Fan, wearing a tight combat uniform, has a slender and powerful figure, and even the bodyguards of Guo Tei can't hide their admiring eyes. There are also female bodyguards in the bodyguard team, who also have a good figure, but compared with Lin Fan, they always feel that something is missing. Lin Fan calmed down and said, "Let's start." The next second, the stars appeared. Even the few people who were mentally prepared were surprised. He took a few steps forward and was stopped by Shen Bei again. Although he knew that Lin Fan was one of his own, such a huge mecha was too threatening. "It's okay." He smiled and pushed Shen Bei away again. He walked to Xingqian and looked at her carefully from head to toe. Shen Bei followed him vigilantly with 4 bodyguards, and even 2 secretaries followed him and looked at her together. The leader asked some questions with interest. Lin Fan answered all the questions he could answer, and Zhu Kunjun and Cui Yan helped answer the questions he couldn't answer. Finally, she drew out her weapon and gently held it in her hand for him to take a closer look. The process of transforming from Xingqian to Lin Fan also amazed the people who had never seen it. After confirming that Lin Fan had no discomfort, the leader nodded repeatedly. ZHU Kunjin handed Lin Fan a coat and medal at the right time for him to wear, and everything went very smoothly. The leader was very happy when he left and called ZHU Kunjin away. Lin Fan watched her boss disappear behind the door, and her hand buttoning her clothes paused for a moment. What should she do now? Wait here? Or go back first? The secretary came over and told them that they could leave first. Cui Yan told the other party that he had something else to meet and left with him. The 5 people quietly left the reception hall. As soon as they left the door, Lee Chun-ho rushed over, put his arm around Lin Fan's shoulders, and said without hesitation, "Come on, let me see what kind of medal you have. Why is it different from ours?" They all had medals pinned on their chests, and only Lin Fan had a ribbon hanging around his neck. He had wanted to see it for a long time. Under the big red ribbon, there was a big red circle in the middle of the golden badge, with a golden flag inside, and several layers of white, gold, and red patterns below, layered and looking very beautiful. What kind of badge is this? Lee Chun-ho was stunned. The ones on their chests were all golden hexagonal badges with a 6-pointed star and geometric lines inside. Lin Fan's badge was much more high-end than this. Gu took a closer look and raised his eyebrows in surprise. How is it? Gao Fei knew at a glance that he must have recognized it. It might be the Medal of Valor. The plot has just been released. I hope you all enjoy it. Some people suggested that I open the interstellar map directly. Let me explain to you why I don't open it directly. I originally wanted to use this volume to uncover the hidden technological strength of various countries during the battle, upgrade the entire technology by a few levels, and then talk about space. Because the background structure of this article is the present, so there is still something missing in the interstellar. It must be brought out in the following plot. So this paragraph must be included. Otherwise, if aliens suddenly come, we can't fight them. There is no place for the spaceship, right? Xingqian can't go directly into space, right? There is no place to rest. She will be exhausted. And Lin Fan can't go to the interstellar alone, and the accompanying personnel must be prepared, right? That's the reason above. There will be interstellar. Wait for me to throw out these necessary factors first. Because the new outline has changed, it will definitely not be as long as before, so you shouldn't have to wait too long. As for the weakness of this new plot in the middle, there is nothing I can do about it. A lot of things have been taken out, and time is tight, so it is impossible to be as complete as I thought before. But I still have to write, otherwise there will be something missing. Well, it will probably not be long before the third part, the Sea of Stars, comes up. If you feel that the proportion is not coordinated, please forgive me. It happened suddenly, and I was very busy. If there is any problem with the text during this period, please help to correct it. Thank you, my dears. I love you. Chapter 306, Pressure. The Medal of Valor. It is one of the highest honors below the National Medal. Gu was afraid that he remembered it wrong, so he took out his mobile phone to search. After confirming that Lin Fan had received this medal, everyone was a little surprised. Could it be a mistake? Lee Chun-ho hesitated. Saving the leader is of course a great deed, and Xingqian's contribution to Mecha research is undeniable, but I always feel that he is still a long way from this medal. Lin Fan carefully checked the profiles of those who had received the medal before. The more she looked, the more uneasy she felt. Most of them are very old and have made outstanding contributions in their long lives. There are also some who are about the same age as her, but they have paid their lives for the group business they love. She suddenly felt that the ribbon was burning her neck, and the originally beautiful medal turned into a branding iron. Could it be a mistake? She was also suspicious in her heart. This medal is specially awarded to members of the group who have made outstanding contributions. But she is not. Lin Fan joined T when she was in junior high school and has always been an activist. Naturally, she would not miss the opportunity to apply to join the group when she went to college. But her class teacher at that time had a problem with his character. 3 places were given to her classmates who were close to her each semester. Most of them were boys. Later, after the scandal of embezzling class fees broke out, although she was dismissed, but Lin Fan's enthusiasm was also worn out, and she had some resistance to those teachers, so she didn't apply again. It was also at that time that she realized that the university campus was already a small society. Slowly walked out of her naive thinking. Later, she went to work in Gayo and went through a difficult and busy novice period. When she remembered that she had to pay the tea fee, she didn't know where to pay it. After checking again, it seemed that there was no consequence for not paying it, and she would reach the age of automatic retirement in 2 years, so she didn't take it to heart. How come after so many years, she suddenly got the highest honor medal in the group? This must be a mistake. Lin Fan is 37 years old after all, and knows what this place is, what can be said, and what can't be said. Song Ren and the other 4 are not untrustworthy, but seeing that they are also confused, it is estimated that even if they ask, they will not get any answers. Lin Fan put aside his doubts and asked about their medals. What kind of medal is this? Ours is a commemorative medal, the Rising Star commemorative medal. GU showed everyone the information he found on his phone. One is the highest honor medal, and the other is a commemorative medal. The difference between the two is obvious. But Song Ren and the others didn't feel it was unfair. They all knew how Lin Fan got this medal, and it was almost hung on the wall. Although they felt that this honor was a bit heavy, they just felt that it was a bit abrupt. When they faced the green armored man, they just kept disturbing him. Gayo Fei, who was the most seriously injured, only had multiple fractures all over his body, which was not life-threatening, and he is recovering well now, with almost no sequelae. So it is reasonable to get a commemorative medal. Although the second generation team members were also at the scene at the time, they basically didn't make much contribution, so they were not recognized for the commendation. They didn't say anything, but Lin Fan felt even more uneasy. What virtue and ability did she have to deserve such a high honor? Li Chunhua touched Lin Fan's badge curiously. Jiu and Gayo Fei touched them one by one, and even Song Ren was no exception. Then, under Li Chunhua's instructions, Jiu continued to check which top honors there were besides the Medal of Valor. She was absent-mindedly huddled with a few people, pretending to be looking, but in fact her mind was in a mess. "Hey, you're still here?" Zhu Kunjin suddenly appeared and said with a smile. Jiu quickly put his mobile phone in his pocket, and several people stood in a row, saluting Zhu Kunjin neatly. They were all wearing formal clothes and were in a formal occasion, so this way of greeting was normal. Zhu Kunjin had a flat red velvet box in his hand, responded with a smile, and walked to Lin Fan. "Did I disturb you?" "No. We were just chatting." Song Ren answered on behalf of everyone. "Oh, are you done talking? Can I take Lin Fan away?" Zhu Kunjin asked kindly, as if to say, if you haven't finished talking, continue. Song Ren quickly glanced at Lin Fan, and seeing that she seemed a little confused, he replied loudly, "Director, we are done talking." "Okay, then I'll take Lin Fan away." Zhu Kunjin nodded and asked Lin Fan to leave. Lin Fan waved goodbye to the 4 people and hurriedly followed. She held the medal in both hands, and after walking for a while, she couldn't help but asked, "Director, is this medal wrong?" "Oh." The director turned around and looked at her solemn look and smiled. "It's really beautiful. This is the first time I've seen this medal." He took the medal from Lin Fan, looked at it carefully for a few times, smiled even more happily, put it down gently, and said, "It's impossible to make a mistake. How could such a big thing be wrong? There are layers of review. This kind of commendation must be recorded in the file, and the review is very strict. From the proposal to the final confirmation, it has to go through several stages. The badge is also made after confirmation. How can it be wrong?" "But Lin Fan looked around. Even though there was no one around, he still approached Zhu Kunjin and whispered, "I'm not a member of the group. I just got a tea back then." She wasn't even a member of the group, so how could she get the highest honor in the group? "I know." Zhu Kunjin replied with a smile, "But your file has been updated a few days ago, and now it is. Congratulations." Lin Fan looked incredulous. When did this happen? She didn't even know it herself. But then again, the Special Affairs Office can even add household registration, so it shouldn't be difficult to change these, right? "No, this is not done by us." Zhu Kunjin knew what she was thinking at a glance, shook his head slowly, and walked forward with his hands behind his back. "It was done directly from above, and notified to me." When he received the information change a few days ago, he guessed that it was to prepare for the award, but he didn't expect that it would be such a big honor. Lin Fan hurried to catch up. But even if I don't talk about this, I still feel that I made a mistake. I should be like Song Ren and the others and get a commemorative medal or something. I don't think I should get this. Such a heavy honor, like a heavy mountain pressing on her heart. She felt very guilty. Do you feel unworthy of your position? Zhu Kunjin glanced at him knowingly. Lin Fan was stunned for a moment and nodded quickly. Yes, I just feel unworthy of my position. I don't think what I have done is enough for this. She held the medal in both hands and pushed it forward, her eyes full of worry. Do you feel ashamed? Guilty? Pressured? Zhu Kunjin asked, and Lin Fan nodded. Seeing this, he shook his head and sighed. That's what I want you to be like. Last night I wanted to check if there were any new comments, but I got a notification of blocking. The chapter from yesterday afternoon was blocked again at 9 PM, and I don't know what went wrong again. It's terrible. The CPU has burned out, the whole brain is hollowed out, and I have a terrible headache. I had a dream at night, and you said that it was blocked every day. There was nothing to read, and everyone ran away. I'm in a mess, so I will just do one chapter today and see how it goes. What should I do if it continues like this? My dears, come and give me some advice. Chapter 307 His thoughts. What? What do you mean this is what you want? Lin Fan didn't understand what Zhu Kunjin meant and wanted to ask more questions, but when she saw someone coming in front of her, she shut her mouth obediently. Zhu Kunjin raised his eyebrows and glanced at her, and the smile on his lips deepened. Back at the residence, Wu Yusen opened the door and watched Lin Fan come in with a medal in both hands, as if holding a bomb, and narrowed his eyes. What's wrong? Wenji stood up from the chair, also surprised by this unusual gesture. Lin Fan walked to the coffee table, quickly took off the ribbon around her neck, and carefully placed it on the coffee table. Emma, finally relieved. She wanted to take it off a long time ago, but she was afraid that it would fall off accidentally outside, or get bumped or broken, so she didn't dare to take it. With a long sigh of relief, she stretched her limbs and lay on the sofa in a big shape, feeling empty again. What's wrong? Is the transformation not going well? Wu Yusen handed over 2 glasses of water. Wenji also came over with a serious face to take the pulse. My heart is beating a little fast. What happened? It's okay. Everything went well with the transformation. It's a good thing. Look, the badge scared her. Zhu Kunjin sat down on the sofa, put the box in his hand on the coffee table, picked up the cup, and drank a sip of water. Wu Yusen and Wenji looked at the badge on the coffee table. What kind of badge is this? It's very beautiful. Wu Yusen picked it up and looked at it carefully. Medal of Courage. Zhu Kunjin replied. Wu Yusen was stunned, handed the badge to Wenji, and asked in confusion. If I remember correctly, there seems to be a Medal of Heroism. Yes, there are 5 highest honors. National Medal, Medal of Courage, Medal of Heroism, Medal of Friendship, Medal of Glory. Zhu Kunjin leaned back on the sofa comfortably, swinging his legs. Wenji's hand trembled, and he almost dropped the badge in his hand, and quickly clenched it. Is this one of the highest honors? Wu Yusen also widened his eyes, and quickly walked behind Wenji, and leaned over to take a closer look. This thing, not everyone has the opportunity to see it. Zhu Kunjin looked at the 2 people who looked like they had never seen the world, and smiled and pushed the box he brought back forward. Here, the box is here, you can keep it. The medal box was given to him by his confidential secretary when he left. Because of Lin Fan's transformation, everyone almost forgot about it. Lin Fan realized that the director was holding a metal box, and she thought it was a medal or gift for the director. Director, can you explain to me what you said outside just now? Lin Fan asked, after recovering from his shock. Now there are only 4 of them in the room, so he should be able to talk. What do you think the role of the medal is? Zhu Kunjin asked. Reward. Lin Fan replied, thought for a while, and added, and encouragement. What else? Zhu Kunjin was in a very good mood, and he didn't feel uncomfortable with a smile on his face. What else? Lin Fan couldn't think of it, and looked at Wu Yusen next to him for help. Wu Yusen was squatting beside the coffee table. He had already taken the medal from Wenji, and after touching it again and again, he was carefully putting it into the box. A symbol of identity and a certification of achievement? Wenji replied slowly. What else? Zhu Kunjin asked again. What else? Wenji thought carefully and shook his head slowly. Responsibility and pressure. Wu Yusen put the badge neatly in the box and did not close it, but left it open on the coffee table for everyone to see. Pressure? Lin Fan thought about it and nodded vigorously. Yes, I'm under so much pressure now. I always feel that they gave me the wrong badge. It's like a child wearing adult clothes. It doesn't feel right. After the initial surprise, Wenji and Wu Yusen soon discovered the problem of excessive rewards and looked at Zhu Kunjin at the same time, wanting to hear what he had to say. Among the existing reward badges, there is actually no medal that matches Lin Fan's merits. When Zhu Kunjin learned that Lin Fan had taken this badge, he was also very surprised, but after a little thought, he understood. Among the existing medals, apart from the military/internal commendation, there are several medals that can be awarded normally. The labor medal is definitely not for Lin Fan. The honor medal requires a certain contribution and public recognition, so she is not qualified either. The friendship medal is for foreign friends, and the hero is exclusive to soldiers. I don't need to tell you about the national medal, you know it too. Zhu Kunjin explained and ruled out one by one. Only the bravery medal is left, and for this reason, the higher-ups specially changed Lin Fan's group attributes and let her join the group directly. In order to let Lin Fan get this honor smoothly, the big boss was also very worried. But I still feel that I'm not qualified to get this medal. Lin Fan has always known herself. Although she suffered a lot when she saved the leader, she did not do it entirely for the leader. When she reacted, she had already rushed up. And she felt that, if someone else was there at the time, she would have saved people without hesitation. Because saving the leader is such an award, then those doctors and bodyguards around the big leader, don't everyone have to get one? Let's talk about Xingqian. Although she has promoted the development of Mecha technology, she doesn't feel that she has made any contribution. The days at 800 were quite pleasant. She also recovered from her illness, and is now in good health, and can fight and jump. No matter how you look at it, it was all due to her. It was as if she got the credit without even lying down. How could she not feel guilty? Lin Fan said exactly what she was thinking. Wenji and Wu Yusen also nodded. They felt that what Lin Fan said made sense. Although it was a bit one-sided, the medal was obviously too heavy. You guys are still too young. Zhu Kunjin squinted his eyes and took out a cigarette box from his pocket. Just as he was about to take out a cigarette, he put the cigarette box back. Is a medal given to you just a reward and affirmation? What is that? Lin Fan asked. You feel guilty and under pressure. Do you really want to make achievements? Zhu Kunjin asked with a smile. Yes. Something seemed to flash through Lin Fan's mind. For this award, you will definitely risk your life and do better in the future, right? Yes. With this honor, it will be difficult for you to be easily tempted by the temptations outside. After all, such affirmation is almost impossible to encounter at your age. Lin Fan seemed to understand. So, this extraordinary honor has tied Lin Fan. When she understood, it's not Lin Fan. Wu Yusen raised his head and corrected, it's Xingqian. It's not appropriate to say that it's tied. It's like giving a sweet date in advance and hanging it in front of your eyes. You will see it every step you take, and can't ignore it. It's like hanging a super searchlight on Lin Fan's head. If she has any hesitation in her position in the future, she can't get over the hurdle in her heart. Lin Fan stared at the words of several people. Is it really like this? She felt suddenly blocked in her heart, and her eyes were a little sore again. The beautiful badge lay quietly in the box. The honor that weighed 1,000 pounds just now seemed like a pair of shackles. She lowered her head. Her expression was a little lonely, her brows slightly frowned, and she looked at Zhu Kunjin seriously. I can't solved. Let me try another one. Chapter 308 Enlightenment. Lin Fan considers herself a patriotic young man, middle-aged. On weekdays, when she sees some neatly lined up reviewing squares passing by, she will be excited, and tears will well up in her eyes, and a sense of pride will arise from her heart. Of course, she has thought about traveling abroad, and when she was young, she even made a vow to travel around the world. But to say anything else, she has never really thought about it. At this time, she learned the other meaning of the medal, and a feeling of being wronged suddenly surged up, and the previous happiness was no longer there. Look, you are wronged. ZHU Kunjin didn't think it was a big deal. So you are young. If he hadn't seen that Lin Fan was always uneasy, he wouldn't have explained it so clearly. I'm giving it to you. Just accept it. It's not stolen or robbed. What's there to be uneasy about? Lin Fan didn't want to look at the badge awkwardly. Before, he thought he was not worthy of it, but now he felt that it was the golden hoop on Sun Wukong's head, and he couldn't take it off. After putting it on, don't just focus on what I said and ignore the others. ZHU Kunjin shook his head and said, the biggest function of this thing is to reward and honor, and the others are just to constrain your morality. Since you can't do it, what's the point of caring about it? Director, you are making it easy. If you also get such a medal, I'm afraid you won't feel good either. Wu Yusen can understand Lin Fan. Why? I already have it. ZHU Kunjin smiled. I don't care about those things behind the scenes at all. Anyway, I won't do those things that violate the bottom line. Why waste that feeling? What do you have? Even though Lin Fan was in distress, he was attracted by his words. Medal. You don't think that I, the director, have worked hard for you guys in the Special Affairs Office for most of my life, but I didn't even get a medal, right? ZHU Kunjin changed his leg with a smug look on his face and swayed even more. The director's medal? I've never heard of it. Seeing Wen Ji and Wu Yusen exchange glances, Lin Fan asked, Director, what is your medal? National medal. ZHU Kunjin was so proud when he talked about this. Is it the national medal? Wu Yusen said in surprise. They were just discussing how difficult it is to get bravery, and the national medal is the highest honor, and few people have won it so far. And I don't remember ZHU Kunjin's name. Could it be hidden again? Thinking about the nature of the Special Affairs Office, it is very likely. After the restructuring of the Special Affairs Office, ZHU Kunjin managed all affairs so well, solved countless problems and hidden dangers, and he is also very capable. It seems reasonable that he got the national medal. But you are different from me. You are worthy of the name. Lin Fan said. What's different? What's different? ZHU Kunjin interrupted her and patted the armrest of the sofa pretending to be unhappy. You just don't have enough confidence. You think your contribution is not enough, so why don't you roll up your sleeves and work hard to make up for what you owe? ZHU Kunjin knew that these young people lived a comfortable life and sometimes they tended to get stuck in a dead end in their thinking. You know, with great ability comes great responsibility. This badge is both a reward and an encouragement, as well as a warning. You can't just see what you think is bad and ignore the positive meaning. How can you do that? It's clearly a reward for you, but you only see your own shortcomings. It's clearly encouragement and affirmation, but you only feel pressure. Although the warning makes you feel uncomfortable, it is also another kind of attention. ZHU Kunjin pointed at Wu Yusen and said, don't think I'm giving you chicken soup. How many people want such an opportunity, but don't have it? Ask him if he wants it. Wu Yusen was suddenly named. After hearing the question, he expressed his attitude sincerely, I want it, but haven't I found a chance yet? He smiled and said to Lin Fan, I know that this kind of thing would not be easy for anyone, but then again, those who are not feared are mediocre. We all know what Xinchen is capable of. So far, the higher-ups have adopted a laissez-faire attitude towards you. It can be said to be tolerance, but it is also a kind of indulgence. But there are no restrictions at all. If you were in a high position, facing Xinchen, what would you think? Plus, the welfare of the institute is good, and your annual income is high. To put it bluntly, if you want to leave, it will be a matter of minutes. Who can stop you? So this kind of moral restriction, although not so pleasant, I think it is the lightest kind of restriction. After all, no one has said it explicitly, it just has this meaning. As long as you don't violate that bottom line, then this restriction can be regarded as never existing. Wu Yusen persuaded. In fact, we have such things in our institute. When Ji interrupted, the confidentiality agreement and monitoring equipment are actually restricting us to a certain extent. Why don't you feel resistance to these? Lin Fan thought about it. It's not that there was no resistance at the beginning, but later I felt that this was normal. I wouldn't do anything anyway, so it didn't matter. So, isn't this the same meaning? When G spread his hands, just treat it as a special monitoring device to monitor your behavior. Not to mention that it itself is much more meaningful than a monitoring device. After everyone took turns to persuade him, Lin Fan felt much better. The feeling of being bound slowly loosened. Yes, there are not so many pure things in this world. Even her feelings towards her own parents were unclear. Why do you still expect the medal to be a pure award? After Lin Fan figured it out, he secretly complained about his own hypocrisy. How old is he? But he is still as naive as a child. Maybe he has not recovered from the impact of shrinking. I understand, director. She nodded and looked at the three people and said, I will do what I can and strive to live up to the honor brought by this medal. Thank you everyone. It's good that you have figured it out. It's good that you have figured it out. Ha 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 ha. ZHU Kunjin knew that Lin Fan was thoughtful and was secretly worried, thinking that if it didn't work, he would let Jin Sichin take action. Now that he saw that she figured it out so easily, he felt that her personality was really good and he didn't make a mistake about her. Lin Fan took the initiative to pick up the velvet box on the coffee table and touched the badge. The cold touch went straight from his fingertips to his heart. Yes, a badge is just a badge, and there is no need to give it too much meaning. It is enough for her to represent a reward. Although she was still a little sad emotionally, she had completely accepted it intellectually. She slowly closed the lid and touched the bright red velvet surface, and then she heard ZHU Kunjin say again, the leader just called me over. There is an emergency task for me. He looked at Lin Fan with a heavy smile. Your new task is here. Chapter 309 please. What mission? Is it difficult? Can I accompany him? Wu Yusen was the first to react. The mission of the National Taiwan Affairs Office is no different from others. In terms of personnel deployment, the Special Affairs Group may not have the dominant power, but Lin Fan is a complete novice, and it is almost impossible for her to carry out the mission independently. Difficult? Not necessarily. ZHU Kunjin picked up the cup and drank a sip of water. It's just to accompany the big leader on a visit abroad. You can't accompany him. Wu Yusen was relieved at first, but frowned again. Just as he was about to speak, he was intercepted by ZHU Kunjin. In half a month, the big leader has a scheduled visit to Country P. ZHU Kunjin answered slowly. This visit was confirmed half a year ago, so it cannot be changed. Lin Fan nodded. As you know, there has been some chaos outside recently. This matter is both within our expectations and beyond our expectations. ZHU Kunjin shook his head and smiled bitterly. The choice of many things is really just a matter of thought. Let's talk about Country P. They have been making small moves recently. ZHU Kunjin looked at Lin Fan. The previous Mecha firefighting photos incident caused such a big stir. They were involved. We suspect that the attack on 800 was also related to them. After all, Country P and we have always been smiling on the surface, but in our hearts, cough cough, we are equally strong, economically, militarily, and technologically, cough cough. ZHU Kunjin coughed a few times. If there is anyone in the world who dares to do bad things to us secretly, they will definitely be the first suspect. There is no conclusive evidence, but there are countless pointing evidences. Country P has always been insidious and domineering. When you reason with them, they act like hooligans. When you want to be tough with them, they start to reason with you. The reasons are all one set, and they talk to themselves. But the interaction at this level is far from as simple as that between people. If they don't like you, just stay away from you, and don't get along with you. At this level, there are too many things to consider and check and balance. After so many years of game, the current situation has been maintained. Cui Yan has cut the body of the blunt foreigner who degenerated from the green armored man into thin slices for a search. But they can't find out the origin of that person at all. They can only hear the accent of a P person from the two curses of that person. But can this be used as evidence? Obviously not. Nowadays, P language is the first language popular internationally, and it is not only P people who know it. Even their own elementary school students are now beginning to pay attention to it, and they must learn the standard P pronunciation to be perfect. Therefore, if you judge him as a P person just by his accent, it is too arbitrary. But even though there is no evidence, almost everyone believes that the bastard is from P country. The information group colleagues of the Special Affairs Office hacked into all the databases that could be checked, but knew nothing about this person. When hacking into the central database of P country, they were accidentally discovered by the other party. There was no way to secretly investigate, so they could only leave them a friendly code and hastily clear the traces and leave. It's like they knew that it was done by P country, but they had no evidence. Country P also knew what we did, but they also had no evidence. They didn't know how much data the intruders took away, and they were panicked and changed their defenses overnight. Unable to accept the result, the spokesperson of Country P accidentally revealed the clues of this incident, which was finally noticed by a hacker. He quietly sneaked into the internal affairs files of the Starfish building and easily found the report of this intrusion. In anger, he posted the document to his own hacker alliance. The hackers of Country P, who knew that their tower had been stolen, could not sit still and attacked in groups. The information technology team of the Special Affairs Office is not a vegetarian, and they will fight as many as they come. But two fists cannot beat four hands, and fighting with a small number against a large number is not a long-term trend. At this difficult time, our civil organization Red Hacker Alliance discovered this wave of unusually active attack signals and investigated. Well, isn't this an old rival? No need to say more, just do it. Thus, a hacker war between the two major groups was revealed, and it was a dark battle in the online world, but ordinary people were completely unaware. Do you still remember the two people you rescued during your mission a few years ago? ZHU Kunjan asked. I remember, Luan. Lin Fan blurted out a name, but he couldn't remember the other person at once. Feng Chuang. Wu Yusen continued. Are they from Country P? There is no clear evidence yet. Because these two people were not people with special abilities, the investigation mission was taken over by other departments, and ZHU Kunjan only knew a rough idea. But the information currently indicates that it is closely related to Country P and Country B. And what about Country B? Wu Yusen frowned. But it was not surprising. After all, these two people were birds of a feather. We are still not sure why they entered the cave, but the appearance of Yanjing has given us another direction of suspicion. ZHU Kunjan glanced at the three people who were listening attentively and continued. So, it's great that Yanjing was discovered by Lin Fan. But even if they got Yanjing, it would be meaningless. When she asked, although it is a rare treasure, its function is to make people younger, that's all. Maybe they don't know the actual function of Yanjing, or maybe they want Hengju. ZHU Kunjan speculated. After all, longevity seems to be more valuable than immortality. Because they don't want to alarm Feng Chuang and Luan, their real purpose is still unknown. But if these two people are just going for a simple adventure, haha. Although ZHU Kunjan kept a smile when he spoke, he had already cursed in his heart. These bastards, why don't they live a peaceful life? What on earth do they want to do? The recent unusual movements in Country P are so frequent, just like epilepsy, that it is difficult to judge by common sense. The leader's visit cannot be postponed without reason, so. ZHU Kunjan looked at Lin Fan steadily. Xingqian is going with us as our secret trump card, which is considered an added insurance. If there is any unexpected situation during the stay in Country P, at least with Lin Fan there, the leader's safety is guaranteed to the greatest extent. Even if the plane breaks down and cannot take off, as long as the cabin door can be closed, Xingqian can bring the person back. The first time Lin Fan appeared in everyone's field of vision was because she lifted up the fighter jet and landed it successfully. Now Xingqian is in a stable state, and after the upgrade, her strength has reached an immeasurable level. A special plane for a visit is not a problem for her at all. So Lin Fan, the leader is in your hands. Chapter 310, The Attitude of the Eldest Brother. Lin Fan accepted the offer without hesitation, her fingers unconsciously stroking the velvet box. She just needed to do something to make up for the lack of merit in this medal, and here came the opportunity. Although she didn't know what to do specifically, it was obvious that she had no right to refuse. Just follow the arrangements. But she is alone. Wu Yusen knew that not everyone could go on an accompanying visit, but Lin Fan was a naive newcomer after all. Is it okay to let her go like this? It's okay. Zhu Kunjin comforted with a smile. I have already greeted Shenbei and will take care of her. Shenbei? Wu Yusen heard this name for the first time. He is the captain of the bodyguards of Guotai. Zhu Kunjin introduced. You should be able to rest assured about the ability of these bodyguards of Guotai, right? Lin Fan will go there, most of the time, just to make up the numbers, just in case. Under normal circumstances, she will not be used. Wu Yusen was not too worried about Lin Fan's external state. After all, after she returned to normal, her strength was comparable to Song Ren, and she was invincible in the star state. There should be nothing to worry about safety. What he was actually more worried about was whether she could adapt well psychologically to the completely unfamiliar and tense environment she suddenly entered. Wu Yusen found that he had unconsciously begun to look ahead and behind, as if he had not yet come out of the role of Lin Fan's old father. Damn. He frowned, and then looked at Lin Fan sitting there without realizing it. He was still worried, even though the child had grown up. Shenbei is the man who stood in front of the big leader twice in the reception hall just now. Do you have any impression of him? Zhu Kunjin said to Lin Fan again. Seeing her nod, he continued. He and the other 3 bodyguards and 2 confidential secretaries present are all people who know your true situation and your physical condition, so you don't have to worry too much. When you go there, there is no special mission. Just don't be too far away from the leader and just follow the arrangements. The internal affairs of national Taiwan are free and orderly. As long as the situation is normal, you should have nothing to do. So, don't have too much pressure. In fact, the purpose of your going there is just to take a safe bet. I know, Director. I will try my best to complete the task. Lin Fan was very experienced in being obedient and said that there was no problem at all. Okay. Zhu Kunjin's smile deepened. Our business at Guotai is done. If there is nothing else, you can move freely and have some fun here. I still have a lot of things to do in the medical department. When she interrupted hurriedly. If it weren't for the fact that Lin Fan might have an emergency after the transformation, he would not have come with him. As the head of the department, he is also very busy. I also have to go back to learn weapons. Lin Fan also said, the day before yesterday, the senior brother said that he would check my homework when he went back. If he knew that I didn't go back early and was still playing here, I would be miserable. Everyone thought of the fierce look of the senior brother and shuddered in their hearts. Since you all said so, then let's go back. Let's go back after lunch. Wu, go contact the car and book the tickets. Zhu Kunjin was also afraid of the senior brother in his heart, so he didn't provoke him if he could. Isn't it good to live a peaceful life? Do you have to provoke him? Wu Yusen acted quickly and arranged it in a short while. During lunch, Lin Fan did not see Song Ren and the others. She wondered if they had finished eating or had not come yet, but this time, she was on a business trip with her leader, so it was impossible to investigate. She could only miss it. When she returned to Gao, she encountered the evening rush hour again. Lin Fan watched Zhu Kunjin squeeze into the subway with a group of social animals like an ordinary uncle, and his skill in grabbing seats was more skillful than those young people. Sure enough, the leaders of the Special Affairs Office are uniquely strong. She silently gave a thumbs up in her heart. After a good sleep in her own nest, a new day began. Lin Fan brushed her teeth slowly, always feeling that she seemed to have forgotten something. But it shouldn't be an important thing, she thought. After breakfast, Wu Yusen wanted to take her to Xiao sect, but was rejected. No need, Lin Fan smiled and shook her head. It's not like I don't know the way. I'm so old now. It didn't matter when she was young. After all, she was small and she was afraid of being accidentally bumped by others. Now that she has changed back, what is there to worry about? Lin Fan raised his eyebrows and patted the badge on his chest. The badge of director of the mobile department was hanging there. What could possibly happen? Wu Yusen once again reflected on his old father's behavior pattern. It hadn't been long since Lin Fan became a child. How could he not change all of a sudden? He shook his head with a wry smile and cleared the plates on the table. As he was clearing, he suddenly stopped. Senior brother, do you know that Lin Fan is not actually a child? Senior brother certainly doesn't know. He looked at the familiar yet unfamiliar girl in front of him, and his eyes, full of anger, narrowed. Lin Fan suddenly realized at this time that she had forgotten something. For a moment, she felt guilty being looked at by senior brother, and stood there awkwardly. In fact, she had never thought of lying to senior brother, but she had never had the chance to say it. During the time in Zioao sect, senior brother had always been straightforward in guiding her weapon skills and rarely chatted. The only two times were when they just went up the mountain, when he hugged her and talked about the angry sword Dao. Another time was when he talked about the war. The rest of the time, he was either teaching or criticizing. Lin Fan didn't have a chance to say it at first, and then she was so tired that she forgot to say it. She forgot it for such a long time. Does this count as deceiving the senior brother? Does it count? Now she can clearly feel that the senior brother likes her, which is more or less based on the fact that she is a child. But she is obviously not. Lin Fan swallowed her saliva, looked at the young face of the senior brother, and suddenly felt guilty for deceiving someone's feelings. What should I do? I was so panicked. Lezing Yuanking stepped to her side step by step and slowly circled around her. Even if Lin Fan didn't look up, she could feel the burning gaze that seemed to penetrate her. She didn't know if it was an illusion, but she felt that the senior brother's eyes looking at her didn't seem as kind as before. Lin Fan lowered her head and stared at the senior brother's feet. She saw him standing in front of her and then didn't move for a long time. The wind stopped blowing, the leaves stopped shaking, and the birds stopped singing. There was silence in Zioao sect. Lin Fan felt sweat seeping out, and his head felt like it was burned by a laser. Her whole body felt an inexplicable pressure, which made her unconsciously want to tighten her body and even fall to the ground. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. This is the anger bug of the senior brother. Lin Fan comforted himself in his heart, barely holding on. He didn't want to fall down, nor did he dare to look up. After a long time, Lezing Yuanking finally spoke. Can you tell me why you became like this in 2 days after going on a long journey? 800,000 words. I was so busy these days that I just realized there are so many words. I took another step forward. Today I was thinking, why not take a day off tomorrow and take a rest? But I thought it wouldn't work. Persistence. Persistence is victory. These days, every time I open the backstage, I'm afraid that the pop-up message is blocked. I feel like I'm being CPU'd. Hahaha. Well, I've made it through this level, right? Right. The following is a new plot, which is not yet well organized. I will continue to organize it. Work hard. Come on. I can do it. Hey, go for it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 311. The elder brother is angry, and the consequences are terrible. Lezing Yuanking knew clearly that Lin Fan was Lin Fan and the little junior sister was the little junior sister. They were two different people. But people are like this. Although he knew it clearly in his heart, when he looked at Lin Fan, he still unconsciously put the shadow of the little junior sister into his mind. Seeing her trying hard to wave her short arms and legs, sweating profusely but pursing her lips, not complaining about being tired. What came to his mind was, would the little junior sister be so stubborn? She might not be able to hold on for long, and would cry with a flat mouth. He knew it, everything. But he still treated Lin Fan as the little junior sister and taught her, and unconsciously, his attitude became gentler. He also knew that children grow up quickly, and Lin Fan would eventually grow up. When she passed this little age, he would naturally be able to separate them. But he never thought it would be so fast, so suddenly. In the blink of an eye, in just 2 days, the baby turned into a young girl. The illusion of the little junior sister was like a bubble, shattered in an instant. He was not an ordinary person, so he would not be surprised by such things. It was just that it happened to Lin Fan, and he found it difficult to accept it for a while. That's right. How could there be ordinary children in the Special Affairs Office? He was thinking wrongly. Lin Yuan raised his eyes and looked solemnly at the girl, who was bathing in the sun and explaining in a low voice with her head down. The warm sunlight left spots of light on her body, and dust was flying in the light, playful like an elf. After the girl finished speaking, she saw that she didn't get a response, so she quietly raised her head and stole a glance at him. The black and white eyes touched his gaze and then shrunk back smartly, pretending that nothing happened. As obedient as a little quail. If the little apprentice sister grows up to this age, will she be like this? Lin Yuan waved away the meaningless thoughts in his mind, stretched out his hand, and with a swish, a sword flew out from nowhere and was held in his hand. Come, let me see, what have you learned from me for so long? Lin Fan felt a gust of wind approaching, raised his eyes, a cold light flashed, and the tip of the sword was in front of him. She ducked and rolled to avoid this attack, and chased after the next sword. So the senior brother is angry, right? Exclamation mark. The senior brother is angry. Lin Fan fully experienced this in the following day. Originally, she thought that the senior brother's intensity was not high, about the same as Song Ren. She was wrong, really wrong. That was a special treatment for little Lin Fan. Now that she has grown up, the intensity of training has suddenly increased, to the point that even she finds it terrifying. Even if Song Ren comes, his face probably won't look much better. If Song Ren is the big devil, then the senior brother can be regarded as the king of hell, and the most ruthless one in the 18 levels of the underworld. After crying in her heart for a day, it was finally time to get out of class. The senior brother didn't even look at her, and walked away with his hands behind his back. Is he gone? Is it over today? Lin Fan fell to the ground, not caring about being soaked in sweat, just wanting to enjoy this moment of relaxation. The breeze blew slowly, taking away the heat and dryness on her body. At this moment, she finally realized why the senior brother was so scary. I was afraid to avoid him. Woo. She's scared too. Can she skip school? Lin Fan lay on the ground for a long time without moving, until it got dark, and her phone worth more than 10,000 yuan rang. Forward. No, don't move forward. Turn around and change the ringtone. Lin Fan turned over like a dead fish and crawled towards the phone, but before she could crawl to it, it stopped ringing. Forget it, she'll rest for a while. After a while, footsteps came to her ears. Someone was running towards her quickly on the stone steps. Lin Fan. When Wu Yusen saw the person lying there motionless, his heart skipped a beat. He quickly ran over and turned the person over. Why are you here? Lin Fan greeted him weakly with drooping eyelids. Wu Yusen was relieved. Although he knew that the senior brother would not do anything to Lin Fan, he still couldn't help but worry. How can you not come? I've been waiting outside for half an hour, but I didn't see anyone. I called but no one answered. How did you get into this state? John Woo carefully supported her back and helped her sit up. Don't talk. Lin Fan felt it was difficult to open her mouth. John Woo looked around and used one hand to get the kettle and feed her water. After turning a kettle of water, Lin Fan felt that she had regained some strength and spoke again. Let's eat first. I'm almost dying. John Woo saw this, and what else was there to say? He put a cell phone in his pocket, picked her up, and carried her sideways, all the way to the cafeteria. It was really cool. Although there were many strange things in the special affairs office, this kind of princess hug scene was really rare. Pointing and criticizing was not necessary, but a few more glances were inevitable. Shy? Not there. Lin Fan was so tired that she couldn't even move her fingers, so how could she have the energy to worry about anything else? She just wanted to be bad now. Hey, what's going on? Wang Fengfeng had been waiting in the cafeteria for a long time, but the food had gone cold and no one showed up. Just when he was thinking about not waiting any longer and just finishing his meal, he was attracted by the commotion at the elevator entrance. Wow, an idol drama was being filmed at the special affairs office, right? Go, bring some food here quickly. Lin Fan is running out of energy. John Woo instructed without hesitation. Wang Fengfeng was stunned, glanced at the dying Lin Fan, and left without saying anything. John Woo carefully put him down. Sit down first. I'll get you some food, and I'll be back soon. After saying that, he ran towards Wang Fengfeng. "Hey, Lin Fan, I heard you've grown bigger." Jin Sichin's joyful voice came from behind him. Just now, when he met Wenji, he knew that Lin Fan had returned to normal. He went to her office to find no one, so he came to the cafeteria to try his luck. When he walked to the front and saw Lin Fan's appearance, his smile disappeared instantly. He quickly took her hand and checked her pulse. "What's the situation?" Lin Fan's weak appearance was rare. Even last time she fainted from the pain and her face was pale. She didn't look like this now. Her eyes were dazed, and she looked weak, which reminded Jin Sichin of the scene in the operating room. It seems that she is too tired to have any energy. Wu Yusen and Wang Fengfeng had arrived with a full bowl of food. "Give her food first, she can't speak." There were a lot of things, but Lin Fan couldn't even raise her hands. She was still shaking after finally putting them on the table. Wu Yusen and Jin Sichin started feeding her without saying a word. Lin Fan's self-esteem and sense of shame all went on strike at this time, and the desire to survive prevailed. "Just eat." Wang Fengfeng also wanted to feed her, but there was really no place for him to intervene. After a few plates of food, Lin Fan was finally able to eat by herself. She ate the food in a flash, like a refugee who had been hungry for a month. It was obviously not a good scene, but the three men present looked relieved. After Lin Fan cleared the food from one table and replaced it with another, she finally slowed down her eating speed and her complexion returned to normal. Jin Sichin then asked, "Tell me, what happened?" Chapters 302 and 305 were previously blocked, but now they are unblocked. Those who haven't read them can go and have a look if it's convenient. I know that there are so many chapters here, and it doesn't affect the reading, so it doesn't matter whether you read that chapter or not. It's not that I want to make money from this chapter. After all, one chapter costs 3 cents and 60 yuan, so people have subscribed, so I only make 1.8 yuan, less than 2 yuan. It's mainly because, when I looked at the data today, the subscriptions above and below were all over 60, and that chapter had 20. The queue was not neat, and I felt so uncomfortable. Ha. The troubles of obsessive compulsive disorder. Chapter 312. If you have any difficulties, find the director. What should we do then? Wang Fengfeng asked, holding chopsticks. What if the senior brother is angry and punishes you like this every day? Today is already bad enough. If it's like this every day, can Lin Fan bear it? The senior brother should not know Lin Fan's energy consumption situation, right? Although Jin Sichin was not happy, he could still look at it rationally. Lin Fan thought about it and felt that he did not seem to mention this part when he explained. Jin Sichin knew what was going on at a glance and continued, "I feel that the senior brother did not know Lin Fan's situation from the beginning, and Lin Fan himself did not explain it carefully, so it is normal that there are some mistakes and omissions. I will report to the director later and see what he says." Wu Yu frowned slightly. They were negligent in this matter. I think the senior brother is angry. Lin Fan raised his head from the bowl, a little regretful. He wasn't like this before. Every time after class, he would hold my hand and walk me down the mountain. Actually, I was tired before, but I don't know what he did. As long as he held my hand, I felt strong. Lin Fan expressed regret for losing such a shortcut to recovery. It seems that there will be no such opportunity in the future. The other three looked at each other. Regardless of whether they were angry or not, they certainly couldn't hold hands anymore, which was easy to understand. I think the senior brother likes children more, right? Wang Fengfeng guessed. He liked little Lin Fan, but when he saw that he had grown up, he changed his mind. What are you talking about? Who changed his mind? Wu Yusen knocked on the table to remind him. Aren't you afraid that the senior brother will settle accounts with you tonight? Hey, that's what I mean. We are not outsiders. How can the senior brother know? Wang Fengfeng winked and acted like a spoiled child. Anyway, it's well known that the senior brother is not easy to get along with. Although Jin Sichin had never seen the real person, after knowing that he was going to teach Lin Fan, he went to find out. I thought Lin Fan was just right for him, so he wasn't so strict. Is it because he likes children? Jin Sichin muttered, holding his chin. People have thousands of preferences, and there are some who love children especially. Then there is no solution. You can't let Lin Fan touch Yanjing again, just to make the senior brother happy, right? Wang Fengfeng shrugged. Little Lin Fan is of course cute, but he has no other use except being cute. Accidentally becoming smaller and deliberately becoming smaller to please the senior brother are two different things in essence. Don't say it. When Lin Fan heard this suggestion, it really went through her mind. But think about it, becoming smaller is just an illusion, and the senior brother has seen her appearance when she turned back, so changing back may not be useful, right? That won't work. Lin Fan has a new mission, can't be messed with. Wu Yusen shook his head decisively. Oh, yes, there is a new mission, I almost forgot. After a day of abuse, the ignorant newcomer put everything behind his mind. Wang Fengfeng and Jin Sichen seemed to have heard nothing about the new mission, and didn't ask a word, and continued to talk about this. Then how about taking 2 days off? Wang Fengfeng suggested again, just say you're not feeling well, and need to rest. How can a normal person be like Lin Fan, who can quickly replenish energy through a large amount of food, and thus recover to normal? Isn't it normal to rest for 2 or 3 days? The eldest brother should also be mentally prepared, right? Don't mention it. I really thought about skipping school, just lying on the ground at that time. Lin Fan continued, but now? How is it now? Jin Sichen asked with a smile. Now that my physical strength is back, I feel. Although it's very tiring, but I'm also making rapid progress. Lin Fan said seriously. She is not a masochist, but to be honest, the eldest brother's hell training method has brought her far more positive effects than negative effects. The training under high pressure has improved her reaction speed and the coherence of her moves to a level that she herself can hardly imagine. With Song Ren's physical training and basic weapon use laying a good foundation, the eldest brother's weapon moves are easier to get started. In addition to today's training, it seems that she has already mastered it and is about to be perfect. Although today is not over yet, she seems to have practiced for many years, and many things have been memorized by her body. If the teaching level can be displayed, Lin Fan has practiced from L1 to L10 for so many days, so she has reached L30 now. The skills are full, but it is easy to empty the blood bar. So how to say this? Everything must have advantages and disadvantages, right? Although the process is difficult, the result is still acceptable. Then you will continue to go tomorrow? Jin Sichen asked. This is not the first time he has seen Lin Fan's tenacity, which is also something he admires very much. Lin Fan was silent for a few seconds and nodded firmly. Go. Only by practicing more now and becoming stronger can we stay away from danger in critical moments. She didn't want to have the green turtle incident again. The lesson was enough once, and her luck could not guarantee that she would get through it safely every time. Moreover, she will be going abroad soon, and it is better to have more life-saving skills than to be helpless when encountering a situation. Wow, you are so conscious. Wang Fengfeng smiled and gave Lin Fan a thumbs up. Jin Sichen applauded directly. You are worthy of it. Wu Yusen was both relieved and worried. He knew that Lin Fan was strong in nature. Those who could stay in the Special Affairs office until the end were all strong people, and Lin Fan was right to do so. Strengthening the body's offensive power is the best defense. The Special Affairs people also appreciate her positive spirit. After dinner, Wu Yusen went to find Zhu Kunjin and told him the situation. Zhu Kunjin also smiled and nodded, saying that he had not misjudged this girl. After sending him away, he went directly to Zioyao sect. It was late at night. The night sky of Zioyao sect was full of stars. This is not a man-made landscape, but an illusion specially created by Mr. Kyan. Zhu Kunjin had not been free to climb the mountain and see the scenery for a long time. At this time, he walked and stopped, blowing the mountain breeze, smelling the scent of grass and trees, and he was immediately refreshed. He saw Lezing Yuanking drinking by himself in the pavilion on the platform. There were 2 wine glasses on the table, as if they knew he was coming, and waited for him here. Big brother. Zhu Kunjin bowed his head respectfully outside the pavilion. Sit down. Lezing Yuanking didn't even raise his eyelids, raised his hand, and poured a glass for the empty wine glass opposite. Zhu Kunjin thanked him politely after sitting down, and drank it in one gulp. What kind of wine is this? Smell it, and then look at the white liquid remaining at the bottom of the glass. Not a wine. Zhu Kunjin looked at Lezing Yuanking holding a blue and white pot in his hand, and poured him another glass. The milky white liquid poured down the slender spout, revealing a unique sweet smell. It was milk tea for sure. Looking at the expensive wine pot filled with milk tea, Zhu Kunjin couldn't tell what it tasted like for a while. Did she complain to you? Lezing Yuanking lowered his eyes, not looking at Zhu Kunjin, slowly picked up the small wine glass, and tasted it slowly. If Zhu Kunjin didn't know that it was milk tea, he would really think he was tasting some good wine. Hearing the question, he hurriedly explained. That's not the case. He smiled and repeated what he heard from John Woo. This child is working harder than I thought. Seeing that the eldest brother didn't say anything, he told Lezing Yuanking the whole story of Lin Fan from beginning to end. Lin Fan only talked about her shrinking during the day and mentioned Xingchen, but didn't mention much about herself. Zhu Kunjin was different. He didn't know whether he wanted to win Lin Fan's favor, or he saw that Lezing Yuanking treated her differently, so he told her everything he knew in detail. Lezing Yuanking didn't say anything or interrupt, just listened, slowly holding a small wine cup and drinking milk tea. Zhu Kunjin's mouth was dry at the end of the conversation, and he swallowed the milk tea in one gulp. Oh my god, so sweet. So, eldest brother, I came up this time to talk to you. In Lin Fan's situation, can you be a little more restrained when you train her? The eldest brother doesn't like children. What he cares about is, come on, 3 consecutive times. Vote. Buy food for Lin Fan. Chapter 313 Trouble. The eldest brother raised his eyelids, and even Zhu Kunjin couldn't help being startled. Then he lowered his head and didn't dare to look at him. This child. Lezing Yuanking curled his lips. Obviously when he left, Lin Fan's eyes were dodging, and she didn't dare to look at him at all. He thought she was scared, thinking that he could have a few days of peace, but he didn't expect it. Lezing Yuanking swallowed the milk tea in one gulp, and the wine glass touched the stone table, making a crisp sound. Then, Zhu Kunjin heard him say, it's a bit interesting. Huh? Did he misunderstand something? Zhu Kunjin hurried to make up for it. Yes, he is a very good child, and I can't help but like him, so the strength. Zhu Kunjin. Lezing Yuanking interrupted him coldly. You are taking the martial arts path, right? Yes. Zhu Kunjin smiled. Thank you for remembering it. Then you should know. Lezing Yuanking filled his glass again and said slowly, the principle of no destruction, no construction. Zhu Kunjin was suddenly shocked. No destruction, no construction, destruction and then construction. This is the most direct way to temper the body. Squeeze out all the physical strength, and then recover. The physical fitness and physical strength will be greatly enhanced. It's just that, because it is not easy to operate, and the controllability is too poor, most people can't do this extreme, and the risk is much higher than the effect. So now few people can think of this step. He had experienced it once by accident, and thus trained the current indestructible body. How could he forget it? So the eldest brother is deliberately tempering Lin Fan's body? Zhu Kunjin raised his eyes excitedly, and when he touched the drooping eyelids of the opposite side, he lowered his head quickly, and said thank you repeatedly. Those eyes are poisonous. Don't look at them if you can, otherwise you can't make your words clear. Lezing Yuanking accepted it all without hesitation, and drank tea leisurely. To say it was intentional, it's not completely. At the beginning, he did have a little anger in it, and it's hard to say whether it was for the sudden change, or the past that disappeared again. He was indeed angry, and wanted to teach this little girl a lesson. But as he trained her, he found that she actually resisted without a word, and gradually developed resistance. She could endure hardships, react quickly, and had a strong learning ability. Lezing Yuanking raised his eyebrows, and felt a sense of cherishing talent. Only then did he start to train her seriously, and he chased and beat Lin Fan to her limit every time. From the beginning, every hit hit her body, to the end, when she could dodge in a panic. As long as Lezing Yuanking found that Lin Fan had adapted to the intensity, he would continue to increase the pressure. Watching her lose strength little by little, getting stronger little by little, being squeezed to the limit by him, and never being able to get up again. Lezing Yuanking was satisfied. I thought that after this, when she rested for a while and recovered, she would be a brand new little girl. It was just right for him to have a few days to rest. It would save him from thinking of his junior sister when he saw her. It was very annoying. But he didn't expect that. Because of this change, Lin Fan completely recovered by just taking a lot of food, and even said that he would continue tomorrow. This, Lezing Yuan-king laughed at himself in his heart. It is true that man proposes, God disposes. He tightened his grip on the wine glass and took another sip. Alright. If a child wants to make progress, who can stop him? He pulled the corner of his mouth, and he was also interested in the effect of this kind of continuous tempering in a very short time. He looked up and saw that ZHU Kunjin could vaguely see the top of his scalp and turned his eyes away. I heard that her Mecha is indestructible? Yes, from the current test results, Xingqian is unmatched. When mentioning Xingqian, ZHU Kunjin smiled even more happily. Not only is she indestructible, but nothing has been found that can hurt her. Especially after the upgrade, not even a scratch can be wiped out. Lezing Yuan-king's heart moved. Will she transform in the near future? Yes. ZHU Kunjin nodded. This time she will accompany her on a visit abroad. The day before departure, she will go to the equipment department to test Xingqian's situation, and it is also a good time to test how long her current standby time is. Last time at Guote, Xingqian just demonstrated it without timing. The last time, when Lin Fan was there, Xingqian persisted for nearly 4 hours. Lin Fan has eaten a lot recently. Theoretically, the standby time should have increased, but the exact amount still needs to be tested. Although this mission is just to be on the safe side, they should at least have an idea of the duration. It's a good opportunity to ask for your leave. Lin Fan needs to transform that day, and the physical consumption of changing forms will definitely make it impossible for her to come to class. ZHU Kunjin didn't want to say it so early, but since it's already here, it's better to say it all at once. Well, Lezing Yuan-king nodded. By that time, everything that should be taught should be almost finished. According to the weapon form of Xingqian, Lin Fan only needs to learn the use of single-handed and double-handed short daggers, short swords, two-handed swords, double hooks, and double-headed spears. According to her current progress, Lezing Yuan-king has nothing to teach her without waiting until that day. It's more about training her actual combat awareness and tempering her body. That's it. When the time comes, I will have a sparring match with her, and I can also test how effective her learning is. You go and arrange a place. Okay, well. ZHU Kunjin smiled and nodded, and suddenly found something wrong. Big brother, what you mean is, practicing with Lin Fan can be done here. Lezing Yuan-king has been doing this all day, so there is no need for him to arrange another place. Unless, practicing with Xingqian. ZHU Kunjin really heard the terrible answer. He looked up suddenly and saw that Lezing Yuan-king's face was full of interest. Didn't you say that Xingqian is indestructible? I just want to help you try it. Damn. ZHU Kunjin looked at his fierce eyes, and his heart seemed to fall into the abyss in an instant. Falling down, falling non-stop. Is he causing big trouble for Lin Fan? Lin Fan didn't know that big trouble was about to come. After she got up from the bed, she shook her arms and legs unconsciously. I don't know if it's an illusion, but my body seems to be better than before. I can't say what I feel, but I just feel that today is better than yesterday. Sure enough, it's another energetic day. When I opened the door, I saw Wu Yusen standing outside with a shoulder bag on his back. The bag was bulging, and I don't know what was in it. What kind of style are you wearing? Lin Fan frowned with a little disdain. When Wu Yusen is not on a mission, he doesn't need to wear the work clothes of black suit and red tie. His daily dress is still pretty good. He is not as fashionable as Jin Sichin, but he is also a fashionable young man. Now with this shoulder bag on his back, he looks like he is going to escape from famine. Here, Wu Yusen pulled the bag without any concern. I prepared food for you. Take it up the mountain later. Don't get too exhausted today. Lin Fan stretched his head and saw a lot of chocolate, Snickers, small bread, wafer biscuits. Think about her carrying her own backpack up the mountain later. Okay, it turns out that the clown is herself. Oh, the eldest brother wants to fight Xingqian. Well, who will win? My electric blanket is broken. In these days of warm and cold, I have to buy a new one. In fact, I was going to buy it before the new year, but it didn't have the simple switches I wanted, the ones with only high, low, and off, which look high-end, but I think are not practical. I don't like them, so I didn't buy them. As a result, there are switches now, but they are 10 yuan more expensive. Okay, I have to buy it, no matter how expensive it is. I hope the left and right switches are in the right position. Otherwise, my obsessive compulsive disorder will be disturbed again. Chapter 314 Training. Carrying a bag full of snacks, Lin Fan went up the mountain confidently. But today, I don't know what happened. I waited for a long time, but didn't see the figure of the senior brother. I don't know if he was delayed by something. I want to find him, but I don't know how to find him. I can't just wait like this forever, right? But Lin Fan had to pick up the spear and practice. As he practiced, he gradually got into the state. The scene of yesterday emerged in his mind, and his body seemed to have its own consciousness. While swinging, Lin Fan suddenly felt that she could clearly grasp the scale of each movement, and every move was full of certainty. Lezeng Yuanqing knew it when she came in. Seeing that she stood alone in the mountains for a long time, she didn't wait for him, and didn't give up, but practiced on her own. I don't know whether I should sigh that she is eager to learn and enterprising, or that she is careless. But it is undeniable that such a child has indeed won his favor. Although he can't help but think of the junior sister when he sees her, the weight of Lin Fan in his eyes has gradually increased. When he saw her, the first thing that came to his mind was the figure of the junior sister, and then the real Lin Fan. Since yesterday, she has stubbornly climbed up from the ground again and again, accepting his spurs in a messy manner. Her dusty face was soaked with sweat, and then wiped casually, dirty like a cat. But her eyes have always been shining with the light of perseverance, which impressed him deeply. It was because of her persistence that he got a more severe feedback. Last night, Zhu Kunjun's words left a mark in his heart. He admired Lin Fan's character, but he wanted to avoid her for a short time, so as not to be troubled by unconsciously associating her with the junior sister. When he saw her, he hadn't figured out how to face her, so he simply hid, and didn't come out, and also wanted to try her reaction again. Is it worth it for him to spend that time, to teach her everything he knows? Now, seeing her still working hard alone, Lezeng Yuanqing narrowed his eyes. Is this the way to do it? It should be a sideways attack. A surprise attack. You should come back. What is this thing here swinging? After complaining in his heart for a while, he suddenly realized that he hadn't thought about his junior sister for a long time. At this moment, Lin Fan was Lin Fan, and the junior sister's petite figure had been hidden in her shadow and slowly faded away. Lin Fan was swinging with great pleasure, and suddenly, his ears moved, and there was a sound of breaking through the air. His body was faster than his brain, and he raised his hand with the gun backwards, to block the sudden attack from behind. But because he was not as strong as his opponent, he fell straight forward, and could only swing a gunflower behind his back with his backhand to prevent other attacks. He rolled forward, and stood up again in a different direction. She thought it was the eldest brother who came, but when she turned around, she saw only an iron sword hanging in the air. It didn't look like a sword, but more like a stick with a hilt. It's not appropriate to call it a stick. It is thin in front and thick in the back, like a pagoda, with sections. There is a protruding circle in the middle of each section. It looks like there are more than 10 sections, and the tip is a square cone. It looks like a good tool for hitting people. Lin Fan looked at the tip of this thing facing her, ready to attack, but she couldn't see the shadow of the senior brother around her, and she was confused for a moment. Senior brother, she murmured, and before she finished her words, the iron rod stabbed straight at her. Lin Fan held the gun with both hands, and swung it hard, but only knocked it off a little. This thing is more flexible than holding it in a person's hand. It turned 360 degrees and stabbed again. If Lin Fan didn't know that it was the senior brother who was controlling it behind the scenes at this time, she would be a big fool. Okay, it's better that the senior brother is not here, so she doesn't have to hide from his eyes. Lin Fan gritted her teeth, and welcomed the attacks again and again. Some of them were successfully avoided, some were barely avoided, and most of them could not be avoided, and could only be resisted. I don't know how many times she was hit on her body, and the pain made her tears stream. Why does it feel that today is more difficult than yesterday? Wouldn't it be better for the senior brother to do it himself? Can I apply for the senior brother to come back? Lin Fan's tears were streaming down her face. Later, she didn't have time to think about anything else. She just tried her best to deal with the attack. Lezingyu and King sat on the top of the tree, watching Lin Fan resisting even with snot bubbles. She saw that under the attack of the Thunder God Whip, her movements became smoother and her chances of being hit became less and less. He smiled lightly and closed his eyes to take a nap. The next moment, Lin Fan, who felt that he could handle it, began to panic again. In the following days, Lin Fan was in great pain. Although she had more time to replenish her energy every day. But no matter how much she ate, the senior brother would find ways to consume it all. Every day, Wu Yusen would take her back like a dead dog and then revive her with a full meal. Day after day, Lin Fan was numb. Even if she could handle it easily and not be hit again, the senior brother would still have a way. The weapons she had to face were increasing. When she was under the siege of 7 flying swords, using both hands to the extreme, just able to resist and not fall into the passive situation of being beaten and lamenting when such days would end, Wu Yusen brought her good news. No class tomorrow? Lin Fan was stunned. What a wonderful news. It was just like when I was in school. I didn't have to do homework during the holidays. I could spend the red envelopes I received during the Chinese New Year as I pleased. After work, my salary was paid on time every month, and it would increase every year. Yes. The leader will go out the day after tomorrow. You have to leave in advance the day after tomorrow and meet them at the National Taiwan and leave a day tomorrow for Xinchen. The institute needs to measure the situation of Xinchen, mainly the standby time. Wu Yusen said. He saw how miserable Lin Fan was for so many days. Although eating and drinking can quickly recover, consumption itself is an extremely tiring thing. But looking at Lin Fan's condition these days, Wu Yusen probably understood that the physical pressure of the senior brother was a good thing for Lin Fan. So he didn't say anything, just did a good job of logistics support. For example, prepare snacks. For example, every day he carried the immobile Lin Fan down the mountain to eat. As time went by, many people knew that Lin Fan was trained like this by the eldest brother, and it was like this every day, and they all showed sympathetic expressions. Since then, the eldest brother's reputation has risen to a high level. Not only did the children stop crying after hearing this, but the adults couldn't help but tremble after hearing it. Okay. Lin Fan looked forward to it for a long time, and finally she got a rest. Not only tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, she can rest for a long time. She took a long breath and looked back at the food on the table. She felt that her appetite suddenly increased, and she could eat another table. Poor child, she doesn't know what surprise is waiting for her tomorrow. Get stronger, stronger, and stronger. Get stronger all the way. Chapter 315, Thunderclaps. Lin Fan felt happy on the first day of the holiday. It had been a long time since she had such a relaxing day. Thinking that she didn't have to go to Zioyao Sect today, Lin Fan wanted to jump up while walking. First, she went to the medical department and did a series of routine physical examinations with Wenji. Then she went to find Ban Hei, the director of the equipment department. He had missed the meeting after the new year because he was busy with other research, and now he was free. Although no new data can be measured now, it can be regarded as officially taking over after taking a look at the actual status of Xinchen. Lin Fan carried her snack bag and ate while walking and didn't want to waste time going to the cafeteria. Anyway, this time the main purpose is to test the standby time of Xinchen, so there is no need to deliberately replenish it to avoid inaccurate measurement. Ban Hei is older than she thought, maybe over 60. Because most of the colleagues around her are male colleagues of similar age, Lin Fan was a little surprised when an old man suddenly came. Thinking about it, it is normal. Most of the scientists with technology are older. He is very thin, and the white coat on his body is empty. Lin Fan wondered if he was hungry, because he always forgot to eat. His grey hair hung sparsely on his head, his eyes were focused and bright, but he just didn't look at people. While greeting him, he was seen doing this and that, busy with several things, and he looked really busy. The two didn't dare to ask more questions, and stood by and waited. After about 10 minutes, Ban-hei finished his work, and led the two out. Wu Yusen was ordered to follow Ban-hei, and Lin Fan just followed Wu Yusen, and the group entered the elevator. No one spoke in the elevator. Ban-hei didn't say anything, and Lin Fan didn't dare to say much to Wu Yusen, just awkwardly touched a cake, and stuffed it into his mouth. Wu Yusen frowned as he looked at the decreasing numbers. As soon as the elevator door opened, Ban-hei took the lead and walked out. Lin Fan looked at Wu Yusen and didn't move, and nudged him. "What's wrong? We are here." Wu Yusen's expression was not very good, but he didn't say much to Lin Fan. He pulled up the corners of his mouth, and forced a smile, and stepped out. Lin Fan was such a sensitive person. She knew something was wrong, and followed him to ask, "What's going on?" Wu Yusen glanced at Ban-hei, who had walked out about 10 meters, and whispered, "Do you remember asking me before about the place where the vicious and uncontrollable supernatural people were imprisoned?" "I remember. How could I not remember?" Lin Fan had a nightmare that night. She turned into a 9-headed monster, and Wu Yusen chopped off 8 of her heads, all hanging on the wall. Why did he suddenly say this? Lin Fan looked at him, then looked at the surrounding environment that looked like a forest, and suddenly realized, "Isn't this the place?" She widened her eyes. "I shouldn't be imprisoned now, right?" She can now fully control the stars, and she will be on a business trip for a new mission tomorrow. It's not necessary to bring her here to be imprisoned today, right? Theoretically, it's impossible. But Lin Fan was still a little scared. After all, that nightmare scared her for a long time. "No." Wu Yusen looked at her anxious look and laughed unconsciously. "Don't be nervous. You will definitely not be locked up. We are counting on you to bring honor to our institute, the recipient of the Medal of Courage." Huh. Lin Fan breathed a sigh of relief, and rolled her eyes at Wu Yusen. "Then why are you so serious?" "It's scary." Wu Yusen didn't know what to say. As the most heavily guarded place in the Special Affairs Office, it is impossible to come here easily. It's always bad to come here. Forget it. Let's take a look at the situation first. What if nothing happens? Hey, didn't you say this is a prison? How can I not see it? Lin Fan looked at the tall trees. They seemed to be walking in the woods. How could it be a place to lock people up? In her impression, isn't a prison a square courtyard with barbed wire and rooms inside? It can't be seen here at all. Hey, hurry up. Ban-hei turned around and saw the two of them still chatting far behind. He shouted at the top of his voice and continued to walk forward. "Here we are." Wu Yusen responded, pulling Lin Fan to walk a few steps quickly. "I haven't been to this floor either. I just know about it," he said as he walked. "But this place is a bit similar to Area 9. It's also a realm." Lin Fan was surprised. The Special Affairs Bureau is so arrogant. Is it the work of Boss Khan? Even the place where people are imprisoned is so high-tech. Oh, no, hi. Forget it, let it be. Then can she hope that Boss Khan will also create a Lin Fan realm for her? That's not the case. It's just the opposite here. Wu Yusen shook his head. Area 9, the artificial forest is real, and the realm inside is borrowed from a point above. It's not here. The trees you see now are all illusions. Only the prison is real. Create so many illusions? What's the point? Beautify the environment? Lin Fan didn't understand, but he knew, after thinking about it, that spending time on these must be a cost, right? It feels that Lin Fan's dream of a realm has taken another small step forward. Then I don't know. Anyway, they must have considered this. Wu Yusen really didn't know about this. But it is definitely impossible to say that it is simply to beautify the environment. There must be other purposes, but they are just inhumane. Not long after walking, they saw a place like a water tower. Ban-hei disappeared in a hurry, as if he was swallowed. Hey, Lin Fan nudged Wu Yusen again. Why do I feel like it's a Western magician's tower? There are too many such buildings in novels and movies, which can't help but make people think. You just think too much. Wu Yusen is not as imaginative as her. This brick-structured barrel-shaped tower is indeed rare, but how could there be any Western magicians inside the Special Affairs Office? Lin Fan shrugged and stuffed another Snickers into his mouth. It's easier to calm down when you are scared by eating something. After entering, I didn't see anything strange. The interior space is much more empty than it looks from the outside. Banhei and some strangers they haven't seen are waiting for them inside. Lin Fan greeted them and found out that they are the scientific research team arranged for her by the Special Affairs Office. Looking at Banhei's impatient face, Lin Fan didn't dare to delay any more time and instantly switched to the star state. After a series of tests, the equipment team moved the equipment to a corner. So Xingqian will be tested here from now on. After Lin Fan knew that this was not the place where she was locked up, he was not so scared. But he still felt strange. If the test was to be conducted here, then the laboratory of the equipment department would not be used. No, this is a special case. For convenience, you are arranged here. Normally, it is in the laboratory of the equipment department. After seeing Xingqian, Banhei's impatient expression finally eased a lot. Mecha Man, he had a new inspiration. Special case. Wu Yusen was also confused. He hadn't heard the director say that. Yeah, you don't know? Banhei looked at his stunned look, and then looked at Xingqian who was also stunned. Big brother wants to compete with Xingqian. This sentence was like a thunderbolt from the ground, which shocked the two of them. Huh. Guess who wins and who loses? Chapter 316 He can break defense. Wu Yusen finally knew why he came to this floor. Because there is the most unbreakable barrier in the whole institute. The Special Affairs Office specially opened up this floor to detain those vicious and uncontrollable superpowers. From the moment you get out of the elevator door, this whole floor is a big barrier. Old Kyan has built an indestructible detention place for those uncontrollable members. Each person has a separate detention place, which is far away from each other. The degree of its solidity is that, even if the big guys fight and the Special Affairs Office collapses on the spot, these independent buildings will still stand in place without any damage. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is the most solid place in the world. When these detention places were built, Old Khan also deliberately left a few more vacant places just in case. This water tower-like building is one of them. It's just that the number of people who need to be detained here has not increased over the years, but it comes in handy at this time. The eldest brother wants to fight with Lin Fan. Let's not talk about who will win or lose. The impact caused by these two people is definitely not something that ordinary defense shields can withstand. If Master Kine was here, he could just make a barrier and fight anywhere. But Master Kine was in seclusion. At this time, Le Zheng Yuan King proposed a park request. Zhu Kunjin wanted to refuse, but in his heart, he also wanted to see what Xingqian's actual combat power was like. Everyone said that Xingqian was very powerful, but he could only see the description of how powerful he was. It was normal that the 800 machines could not defeat Xingqian, but it did not mean that the special office could not do it. Zhu Kunjin was looking forward to it, but also a little worried. Finally, after thinking about it, he booked the location here. Also because he wanted to test the transformation time of Xingqian, it was not suitable to switch back and forth in the middle, so he also brought Banhei and the testing team here. After the test, the fight started, without delaying either. Banhei and the others could still watch from the outside, which was perfect. Lin Fan had no idea what Zhu Kunjin was thinking. After she learned that she was going to fight with the eldest brother, she felt extremely desperate. Didn't we agree to have a day off today? Didn't we agree? Who are you trying to scare by coming so suddenly? When Le Zheng Yuan King came in, he saw the huge white mecha standing there with its head down. Although she didn't say anything, he could tell she was unhappy. He squinted his eyes and looked at the dejected Xingqian. Even though he was well informed, it was an eye-opener for him to see it for the first time. Thinking of her indestructible attribute, he felt a little bit of fighting spirit in his heart. Big brother, Wu Yusen saw him and Zhu Kunjin appear together and hurried forward to call for them. Seeing that he ignored him and only looked at Xingqian in the field, he didn't care. He pulled Zhu Kunjin to the side and complained in a low voice, "Director, such a big thing, why didn't you say anything?" "Not big, not big." Zhu Kunjin waved his hand without any concern. "It's not like we haven't had a discussion before. It's common for colleagues in the Special Affairs Office to discuss internally. It's just that the two people this time are more special. One is at the level of a sword fairy, and one sword can flatten thousands of kilometers. The other is currently the hardest on the surface of the earth, and is unmatched by the attributes of the Mecha. The effect of these two fighting together may not be much worse than that of two big men fighting each other. Wu Yusen felt uneasy just thinking about it, but he didn't expect ZHU Kunjin to take it to heart. What is ZHU Kunjin afraid of? First of all, the quality of Kain Leo's project is guaranteed. No matter how hard it is hit, it will not collapse, and it will not cause any damage to the Special Affairs Office. Moreover, Lezing Yuanking has a good command of his subordinates, and it is impossible for him to really beat Lin Fan to death. Just look at his training during this period of time. It is definitely abusive, but the scale is well controlled, and there are many benefits. The safety of the Special Affairs Office is guaranteed, and Lin Fan's safety is also guaranteed. What is there to be afraid of? ZHU Kunjin is looking forward to this fight. He doesn't know what it will be like, but it will undoubtedly be exciting. Huh? Where is Banhei? ZHU Kunjin came back to his senses and looked around, only to see that Banhei and the people in the research team were all huddled in the corner. The eldest brother is here, and those who don't want to cause trouble should avoid it quickly. Banhei is not a fool, and he runs faster than anyone else. This old man. ZHU Kunjin shook his head and moved closer to them. Wu Yusen looked at him, then at Lezing Yuanking who was approaching Xingqian, gritted his teeth, and followed ZHU Kunjin. Lin Fan. Lezing Yuanking walked to the white Mecha that was still in a daze, looked up at her green eyes, and shouted, "Big brother?" Lin Fan just felt happy after not seeing Lezing Yuanking for several days, but then he remembered what he was here for, and was no longer happy. Lezing Yuanking looked at the huge Mecha with amusement and shook it. Although he could not see any expression, he showed his happiness and disappointment clearly. He is still a child. He sighed in his heart. He took a few steps forward and flicked Xingqian's armor with his fingers. There was a crisp sound of ding, and it was extended, just like flicking a good sword. Lin Fan subconsciously retracted his hand and stepped back a few steps. Lezing Yuanking also had a general understanding of the hardness of Xingqian. "Come, let me see what you have learned in all this time." Lezing Yuanking swung down with one hand, and a sharp sword was held in his hand again. Lin Fan was really curious about where all these swords came from. But rather than being curious, she remembered that the last time the senior brother said this, he tortured her so hard that she couldn't get up. And she also started a miserable study life since then. Is it going to start again? Pupils of shock. Lin Fan took 2 steps back. Lezing Yuanking frowned and glanced at ZHU Kunjin. ZHU Kunjin hurriedly opened the protective barrier, and the invisible protective shield instantly unfolded, isolating them, the fragile people and machines. Knowing that Lin Fan was not the type to take the initiative, Lezing Yuanking casually made a sword flower and sent it forward lightly. After a few steps, Lin Fan felt the aggressive pressure coming with the sharp sword tip, and it was in front of her in a blink of an eye. She lowered her body and bowed, clasped her hands together, and clamped the sword between her palms. Without using any force, the sword was no longer effective. After Lezing Yuanking added force twice, he found that it was useless, and thought that the strength was indeed not small. With a smile on his lips, he pulled out a sword from nowhere with his other hand and hit Xingqian's arm from bottom to top. With a duong sound and sparks flying, Lin Fan let go of her hand instantly. She actually felt pain with Xingqian's body. This was the first time since being pierced by the green turtle. It felt like Xingqian's outer armor was directly thrown away and hit her directly. But she didn't have time to think about it, and the detached sword tip continued to move forward. She could only turn sideways and roll on the ground. She didn't roll because her wings were stuck. Seeing the sword tip twisted and rushed towards her again, Lin Fan put one hand on the ground and kicked his legs in the air twice, kicking both swords away. While Lezing Yuanking's hands were numb, he kicked the ground and slid backwards and quickly turned over after leaving the danger area. This won't work. The eldest brother's sword seems to be able to break Xingqian's defense. Lin Fan panted, shook his arms, and the dagger stretched out from his wrists. Then he pulled his hands and held the 2 swords in his hands. Lezing Yuanking looked up and saw Xingqian also in an attacking posture and smiled. That's right. 2 swords against 2 swords. Point your toes and stab straight forward. I haven't written about fighting. Do you think it's okay? Chapter 317. Senior brother's face. It looks okay. Banhei said with his hands in the pockets of his white coat. He was not in a hurry at this time, and he was watching with relish. Is it okay? Wu Yusen looked at Zhu Kunjin, who had his hands on his chest but didn't smile, and then looked back at the two people in the field. Lezingyu and King saw dance left an afterimage, so fast that it was impossible to see clearly. He was not short, but he still looked petite in front of Xingqian, but he was not defeated in momentum, and even had the intention of suppressing Xingqian. As for Xingqian, although he was big, he was unexpectedly flexible. His two hands could actually keep up with Lezingyu and King's movements. He only saw bursts of sparks flying outside, and the sound of dang 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 was endless. Before, he had thought about finding an opportunity to compete with Lin Fan, to see how good her fighting skills were. But now seeing this scene, he believed that, if the person standing opposite the eldest brother was himself, he would never be able to do what Xingqian did, let alone resistance. He could only hold his head and take the beating. Lin Fan had grown to a terrifying level without knowing it. This was certainly due to the help of Xingqian, but it was also inseparable from Lin Fan's own efforts. These days, every time he went up the mountain to pick up Lin Fan, she would collapse on the ground with only one breath left and couldn't get up, so he had to carry her down the mountain. After eating and drinking in the cafeteria and recovering, she never mentioned the previous hardships and went up the mountain again the next day. Everyone saw the hard work, and the results were now in front of him. Wu Yusen watched the wonderful fight between one man and one mecha, and his heart was a little complicated. He was happy for Lin Fan's progress, but also felt disappointed that she had distanced herself from him. He was worried about her, afraid that she would be beaten by Lezingyu and King, and couldn't hold on, but he thought it was normal for her to lose. But then he thought Xingqian shouldn't lose. How is Lin Fan's real-time data? Banhei asked the tester who was still working next to him. There is a data collection instrument in Lin Fan's combat suit, which can transmit physiological data to the machine. The heart rate increased, and the blood pressure rose. However, considering the intense activity she is currently doing, we think the data is normal. The team member reported. Banhei nodded and asked Zhu Kunjin, is this performance considered very good? It is hard to imagine that she could last so long in the hands of the senior brother without looking embarrassed. She has only been learning for less than a month. Not bad. Zhu Kunjin also smiled. Although the senior brother held back, it is beyond my expectation to have such an effect. Lin Fan was unaware of the praise from outsiders. She stared at the senior brother's hand and dared not relax, but due to her experience, she could not avoid mistakes. Lezingyu and King thrust out a sword and tightly wrapped her right hand. She raised her left hand and wanted to use another sword to break the situation. As soon as she stretched out her left hand, she saw his other sword stabbing diagonally from her ribs. Lin Fan could not avoid it, so she could only lower her body and use her outer armor to resist. The tip of the sword slid across the white breastplate, pulling out a row of sparks. It hurts. Lin Fan gritted his teeth and kicked forward when the opponent suddenly opened an empty door. Lezingyu and King didn't dare to resist Xingqian's kick head on and hurriedly retreated. The torrential attack finally stopped. Not bad. You know how to use your own advantages. Lezingyu and King rarely spoke. Xingqian was stronger than he thought, and not as clumsy as her appearance. Her reaction speed, control of weapons and flexibility were much higher than he thought. The continuous extreme body quenching effect was unexpectedly good. Coupled with Xingqian's own strength, she was an indispensable opponent. As he fought, he couldn't help but feel a little nervous. It has been a long time since he had such a hearty fight, although he was still holding back. The double sword test was good enough here. If he continued to compete, it would only end with Lin Fan's physical strength running out. Lezingyu and King waved his hands, and the double swords disappeared. Lin Fan took the opportunity to look at his outer armor. Fortunately, there seemed to be no scratches. Xingqian's hardness was still withstanding. It was just that the upper abdomen was burning with pain. When he looked up again, Lezingyu and King was dragging a long spear, with the tip of the spear against the ground, looking at her. Through Xingqian's armor, the effect of the angry eyes seemed to be weakened a lot on Lin Fan. Have you rested well? Lezing Yuan King asked, and without waiting for Lin Fan to answer, he held the butt of the gun and pulled it down, and the ground was instantly cracked. He raised the tip of the gun, and several fragments shot towards Xingqian. Lin Fan raised his sword to block it, and in the blink of an eye, the tip of the gun was close. With the blessing of the spear, Lezing Yuan King was no longer afraid of close contact with Xingqian. A spear danced like a whip, and it made a crackling sound when it hit Xingqian. Lin Fan couldn't touch him, and the double swords had no advantage over the spears. He rushed decisively, forced Lezing Yuan King back, and then inserted the double swords behind him, pulled out the extension rod, and combined them into a double-headed spear. Spear against spear, this is fair. The people watching outside couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. I thought it was a draw, but I was suppressed for a long time. Now I don't know what will happen. Long spears are a weapon that few people use in modern times. Ban He has studied countless weapons in the Special Affairs Office, and he knows them all by heart. Yes, not only long spears, but also swords, guns, sticks, and 18 kinds of weapons. Now they seem to have become performance tools. Zhu Kunjin laughed. Inheritance. I've seen a saying, Wu Yusen said distractedly, when he saw the two people inside starting a new round of probing. It says that the spear is the king of all weapons. If it is so powerful, how come? As he said this, he stopped. Thinking about it, he was also stupid. Now there are machine guns and cannons, who still uses wooden spears? No matter how powerful something is, it will slowly lose its original function in the torrent of the times. The reason why the spear is called the king of all weapons is that it can stab and chop, block and throw, hit and swing, can be mounted on a horse and sprint, can be dismounted and fought on foot, flexible and changeable, suitable for various occasions. Zhu Kunjin explained. But now, where is the chance to use it? Zhu Kunjin said with a smile. However, Xingqian's weapons are changeable. The final form after the combination is a double-headed gun, which is quite good. It can attack and defend. An inch longer, an inch stronger. She has both long and short weapons, which is really great. Inside, Lezing Yuan King was stabbing with a gun. Lin Fan danced the gun in his hand in a circle, blocked the attack from the opposite side, and then wrapped it around, trying to pull Lezing Yuan King's weapon over. How could Lezing Yuan King do as she wished? She held the gun by the end and pushed it, and the long gun in Lin Fan's hand almost slipped out of his hand. The eldest brother is very strong. Lin Fan panted and tightened his long gun a little more, and moved forward to block his next wave of attacks. He found an opportunity to insert the tip of the gun under the eldest brother's gun, trying to pick it up. Oh. Wu Yusen felt sorry when he saw Xingqian's gun being smashed to the ground by the eldest brother's gun, and another piece of the ground was broken. It was almost successful, just a little bit short. Do you think Lin Fan can really take away the weapon of the senior brother? Zhu Kunjin looked at him like this and felt amused. Don't be silly, how could the senior brother be easily taken away by Lin Fan? Doesn't he have any face? No one knows how old Lezing Yuan King is, but he is not young at all. He should be hundreds of years old. Wu Yusen bit his lower lip and sighed. It's not that he didn't know the truth, but this is not. Lin Fan failed to hit, but he was not discouraged. He continued to defend and block, and looked for opportunities to stab. When he successfully inserted the tip of the gun into Lezing Yuan King's gun shaft again, he shook it hard, and the diamond shape of the gun tip instantly opened and turned into a 3-diamond. The one-way gun tip turned into a long spear with double hooks. Lezing Yuan King had never seen such a transformation and was stunned for a moment. Lin Fan took the opportunity to pull back with great force. How strong is Xingqian? You can see it when Lezing Yuan King was carried away by the long spear in his hand. Although the long spear flew out of his hand, he couldn't control himself and took a few steps forward before stopping. After the spear was released from his hand, it turned several times in the air and pierced straight into the ground in the distance, with the barrel swinging continuously. Lin Fan was panting heavily, with the weapon still in his hand. Although Lezing Yuan King's face was not red, and he was not out of breath, the weapon had been released from his hand. Wu Yusen twisted his neck stiffly and looked at Zhu Kunjin. What should I do? Is there still face for the eldest brother? Originally, I wanted to write more fighting scenes. But forget it. One reason is that I have never written a fighting scene, and I don't know if I can write it well. I guess it is not very good. Second, a few chapters will not change the result. It's better to stop here and continue to push the plot. Anyway, you guys should have an idea of Lin Fan's current strength, right? Come on, vote and comment. You don't comment now, is it not interesting? I count on your comments to increase motivation. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 318 Eat More and Grow Faster. In the last blow, Lin Fan chose to let go. He could have flown into the air with the force, turned around and fought for a few hundred more rounds, but what was the point? He had already tested out Xingqian's ability, and Lin Fan's level was beyond his expectations. Although he could suppress Lin Fan steadily, he could only suppress him with the strength of Xingqian's shell. And with Lin Fan's current level, he could not pose any more threats to him. Fighting further would not make any sense, except to consume physical strength and undermine the child's confidence. So, it was good to let go and make the child happy. Lin Fan did not think about the issue of face. He calmly put his hands behind his back, walked forward, and gave Lin Fan an affirmation. Not bad. Big brother. Lin Fan had not yet caught his breath. Seeing him coming over, he was afraid that he would suddenly pull out something again. When he heard his words, he did not react at once. It's just that you haven't used your body to its full potential. Lin Fan flicked the sharp corner of Xingqian's knee. Don't just focus on the weapon in your hand. You also have your elbows and feet. Xingqian's major joints are all pointed and convex. If used to attack, the lethality is also extraordinary. But for some reason, Lin Fan hardly used these parts when fighting him. Zhu Kunjin. Lin Fan turned around and called for someone. I'm coming. Seeing that everything was settled, Zhu Kunjin quickly removed his protection and trotted forward. He didn't dare to ask stupid questions like who won or lost, and said with a smile, "What do you want, senior brother? What you asked me to teach you has now been completed in excess. You have seen the result. Yes, senior brother, you have worked hard." Zhu Kunjin said this sincerely. No one expected Lin Fan to be so strong in a short period of time. He thought it would take at least a year and a half to see the results. Since you agree with this result, then I have nothing to do. I just want to give you some advice. Lin Fan pointed at the joints of the stars that could be used as weapons and said, if these places are used properly, the attack power is no worse than that of swords and halberds. Zhu Kunjin looked at the sharp protrusions that looked like small daggers and asked with a shameless face, "Big brother, can I trouble you again?" Heh. Lin Fan glanced at him unhappily and turned away. Big brother. Lin Fan was very happy to hear his words and realized that she would not have to go to Xiao sect in the future. But seeing that big brother left like this, she felt a little reluctant. She was definitely not a masochist. It was just that from today's battle, she really felt her own progress, and all of this was inseparable from Big Brother's guidance. Although he had a bad temper, didn't like to talk, and was fierce, Lin Fan knew in her heart that Big Brother treated her very well. Can I still go to Xiao sect to find you? Lin Fan didn't know why, but he blurted out this sentence. After saying that, she felt a little regretful. Why go to him? Continue to be abused. Lin Fan heard it and stopped, glancing at the white mecha behind him. The large metal shell was undulating greatly because of the rapid breathing. The green eyes blinked, reminding him of Lin Fan's eyes that had always been firm. Lin Fan looked at the eldest brother and just tilted his head, turned around and left without saying anything. He couldn't tell whether he was disappointed or relieved. He didn't object, which means he agreed. Zhu Kunjin was surprised that Lin Fan actually asked to go again after being freed, but do you really want to go again? He also knew that Lin Fan only had one breath left every night, and he acquiesced. I thought she would feel a kind of joy of escaping from heaven after knowing that she didn't have to go. Can you understand it this way? Lin Fan frowned, not quite understanding the way they communicated. Do you have to be so aggressive? Wu Yusen sighed, looking depressed. You still have to go after you have graduated. He looked at Xingqian, who was dismantling weapons for recycling. It's hard to imagine that when she first met Lin Fan, she was like a salted fish, eating her stomach up to get by. And now, she actually got the approval of the senior brother. Only less than 2 years have passed. No, I just spoke too quickly. Lin Fan put the two swords back into his armor and laughed. But I've said it all. I'll go after I rest for a while, or I'll go see the senior brother. He's so pitiful alone. Zhu Kunjin looked at Xingqian's big head in surprise. He didn't expect Lin Fan to have such an idea. When everyone thought the senior brother was terrible and tried to avoid him, she actually felt sorry for him. It was obviously she who was tortured to death, but in the end, she was the one who felt sorry for him. It's understandable. Girls are so kind and soft. Zhu Kunjin suddenly understood why Xingqian King cared so much about her. He smiled and shook his head and went to find Ban Hei. The standby time this time was nearly 5 hours. Because of the previous fight, a lot of energy was consumed. So Xingqian's actual standby time under normal circumstances should be able to reach 6 or 7 hours, or even longer. Lin Fan's physical improvement was also fed back to Xingqian. Of course, a lot of food supplements are indispensable. Then why do we need to arrange for the senior brother to fight with her? Wang Fengfeng waited in the cafeteria again at dinner time, and the two people came as he wished. Wouldn't it be more accurate to directly measure the data under normal conditions? It is probably to simulate the situation of an accident. Jin Sichen had just received an urgent task from Zhu Kunjin and came to eat with them. When the star is out, it is inevitable that there will be a consumption. It can't be smooth. That's right. Wang Fengfeng nodded, thinking that it made sense. Lin Fan saw that the two people were asking and answering each other, and there was no opportunity for her to show her ability, so she simply buried her head in eating. The director said that her main task now is to eat more and make the stability time of the star longer and longer. Lin Fan, are you ready for the mission? Jin Sichen asked. Outfit? Lin Fan looked up with a blank face. What outfit? Jin Sichen knew it was like this, rolled his eyes under his sunglasses, and sighed. You are going abroad, accompanying the big leaders on a visit. Don't you prepare a few good clothes? Lin Fan looked at John Woo, and then at Wang Fengfeng. Apparently, they hadn't thought of this either. I knew it. Jin Sichen crossed his legs, and pushed his empty bowl forward. Let's go buy some clothes, after we finish eating. At least get 2 new outfits. After all, we are traveling with a big boss, so we have to be a little careful. Having been with Lin Fan for so long, he probably knew what clothes she had. Most of them were old clothes that had been worn for several years. It's not that old clothes are bad. Lin Fan cherishes things, and although her clothes have been worn for several years, they are not ugly except for some retro ones. It's just that this time, after all, she was attending a formal occasion, but she didn't even have a formal dress. You can't go to the national television station and find out, and then get anxious, and jump up and down, right? The problem must be solved at the special affairs office. Looking at Wu Yusen's shy face, and Lin Fan's confused face, Jin Sichen couldn't help but complain in his heart again. Straight men and straight women, it's amazing. The eldest brother temporarily left the stage. She is a tool for Lin Fan to become powerful. Vote, comment, come on, come on. Chapter 319, Rich and Willful. In the end, Wu Yusen drove his wife, Lin Fan and Jin Sichen to the street to buy clothes. Wang Fengfeng did not accompany them. Although he was interested in Lin Fan, he really did not have the patience to accompany a woman to buy clothes. It was terrible. Lin Fan could see from his expression that he must have suffered a lot in the past, so he did not force it. Didn't the director tell you anything? Jin Sichen crossed his chest and sat in the back seat. He was really worried about these two people. No, Lin Fan looked back at him and pulled the seatbelt guiltily. Just let me eat more. Although the sense of taste has not recovered yet, eating itself is a pleasant process. And it feels even better if you don't get fat, no matter how much you eat. The itinerary has been issued, but it doesn't say that you need to buy clothes. Wu Yusen scratched his head embarrassedly. How could he have thought that he would have to buy new clothes? It didn't mention it on the list, so he didn't think about it. But after Jin Sichin said it, he also felt that it was indeed inappropriate. Lin Fan's daily clothes are not suitable for visits. Even if they are accompanying, the occasion is not quite right. We can't let those foreigners find fault with us over these little things, can we? No, hurry up and fill the vacancy. Fortunately, it's in time. John Woo was really grateful to Jin Sichin at this time. Otherwise, if Lin Fan got into trouble, he would be responsible. The luggage problem can be big or small. Going to Guote, even if it causes some inconvenience, it may not have any major impact. But the professionalism of the Special Affairs Office will inevitably be reduced in the eyes of others. The reputation they have worked hard for so many years is really not worth it because of this little thing. ZHU Kunjin also knew that these two people had no awareness of this aspect, so he directly asked Jin Sichin to take action. What should I buy? The most formal occasion Lin Fan has attended is probably the company's annual meeting. There is no requirement for clothing, just wear a beautiful and fashionable outfit. Although you don't have to do any specific work in the past, it should be a bodyguard's duty. You need 2 suits. Jin Sichin said without hesitation, 1 black suit and another suit of other colors. Don't be too eye-catching, keep it low-key. Like John Woo's work clothes? Lin Fan asked, do you also wear a red tie? You can match the tie with a few more colors, and you can also choose a scarf instead. Jin Sichin seemed to know a lot about these things. Women also need some jewelry, brooches. Don't wear earrings. Wear earrings. Don't wear anything on your ears, it's troublesome. Lin Fan replied. You have pierced ears, so you'd better wear them. Jin Sichin disagreed. Choose pants for suits. Don't choose skirts, so you don't have to wear stockings, which is not convenient for movement. Okay. Lin Fan nodded and wrote down everything. Also prepare 2 small dresses. Jin Sichin didn't know if there would be a dinner party, so she could only prepare everything she could think of for her. 1 little black dress, and another one to be considered. Can't be too short. John Woo couldn't get a word in at all, and was only responsible for driving the car to the mall. This time they were going to a mall with many internationally renowned brands. Jin Sichin took them into the store to shop with familiarity. As soon as Wu Yusen entered, he saw a very good looking women's suit on the model. The black fabric, as he walked to different angles, could see a little gold light. It was truly low-key and luxurious. This. He pointed at the model and said, that one won't do. Jin Sichin took a look and decisively refused. Why not? This one looks so good. He didn't know much about women's clothing, but that suit looked particularly good on the model. With Lin Fan's current figure, could it be worse than the mannequin? Jin Sichin sighed. This is a business trip with the leader. What will the leader do if you wear such a conspicuous outfit? The suit looked low-key and was black, but reflective metal wires were hidden in the weaving. It doesn't look obvious under the light now, but under strong sunlight, the whole suit will sparkle. It's like a big diamond, and it will be hard not to attract attention. He didn't want Lin Fan to be a dazzling presence in the delegation. The principle of shooting the bird that sticks out is the same everywhere. His Lin Fan just needs to hide in the delegation in a low-key manner and come back safely. Moreover, this outfit is not cheap. It may be more expensive than the one worn by the big boss. The big boss may not care, but what do the people around him think? Lin Fan is not so proficient in these things sometimes, and it is better to avoid troubles that can be avoided. Jin Sichin is worthy of his high EQ and IQ, and he has considered everything. In the end, he chose a black suit with a medium to high quality fabric and a well-tailored cut, and also chose an iron gray suit with a slightly fashionable element. Shirts, ties, scarves, brooches, cufflinks, all matched in this store. Seeing Lin Fan wearing new clothes and looking full of heroic spirit, Jin Sichin felt comforted. What a spirited girl. If there was anything he was not satisfied with, it was probably the random bun on his head. When the time comes, your hair must be neatly tied up, meticulously, remember. Seeing Lin Fan nod, he asked again, I see many young girls tie their hair into ponytails, which makes them look youthful and lively. You always tie your hair up all year round, and it seems that you never change your hairstyle. Is there any particular reason for this? Wu Yusen knew this, and answered beside him. Ponytails are inconvenient, and they are easy to hit your face and get grabbed. He didn't elaborate, but Jin Sichin already understood. Compared with ponytails, buns are less likely to get grabbed. He didn't know that at Lin Fan's current level, there were not many people who could grab her hair. This is more refreshing. Lin Fan looked left and right in the mirror and added, "Who doesn't like new clothes? If I wasn't used to it, I would want to cut my hair short, which would be much more convenient." She didn't care much about the length of her hair. Anyway, it would grow long, so there was nothing to be reluctant about. Don't. The two people on the sofa spoke at the same time, and then stopped at the same time. Their first reaction was that Lin Fan's long hair was black and shiny, and it would be a pity to cut it. But the length of hair is Lin Fan's personal preference after all, so they can't interfere. Lin Fan chuckled. It's not cut. It turns out that the legend that you men like long hair is true. Jin Sichin smiled but said nothing. Wu Yusen scratched his head awkwardly. Lin Fan smiled and went to the counter to pay, and the salesman happily sent them to the door. Afterwards, the three of them quickly selected the dress, shoes and jewelry. Rich woman Lin Fan pulled the card without hesitation and was finally told by Jin Sichin that this part could be reimbursed. "I bought it, and I wear it, and it can be reimbursed?" Lin Fan sat in the car and couldn't believe it. Today's trip cost hundreds of thousands, and it can still be reimbursed? What kind of magical unit is this? Why didn't she come in earlier? Of course, she might not be able to come in earlier. Why do I remember that there is a clothing allowance in the salary? Lin Fan didn't dare to affect Wu Yusen's driving, and turned to ask Jin Sichin. "Yes, but you are here to support your family, so the director specially approved it for you. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked him to pick clothes for Lin Fan." Compared to money, the appearance of the Special Affairs Office is obviously more important. More importantly, the Special Affairs Office has money. Alright. Lin Fan shrugged. She gradually got used to the wealth of the Special Affairs Office. In the office, any problem that can be solved with money is not a problem. Just one word. Luxury. Oh, you can be willful with money. Who doesn't like new clothes? Chapter 320 Shenbei. On the day of the business trip, it was Wu Yusen who sent Lin Fan off again. Zhu Kunjin also came specially to remind her to be safe and careful, and then ran away in a hurry. But this time, Wu Yusen could only send Lin Fan to the door of Guotai, and he could not go in. "Don't worry, I will definitely not be needed." Lin Fan stood in the door and said goodbye to him with a smile. She didn't dare to keep the guide waiting for a long time and made a 6 gesture in her ear. "If you have anything, call me. I'll go in first." Wu Yusen watched her walk away with the staff and turned around to wave at him and smiled knowingly. It really felt like sending his daughter on a long journey. Lin Fan carried a large bag of snacks, pushed a large suitcase, and followed the serious guards all the way. Although it was not her first time here, Guotai seemed to have a special magic. She couldn't help but be cautious as soon as she came in, fearing that her hands and feet were placed in the wrong position. "Report." The guard led her to a door, knocked twice, and shouted, "Come in." A familiar male voice sounded from inside the door. Before Lin Fan could figure out who this person was, the door was pushed open. The man with a short buzz cut was looking over here. Seeing her standing at the door, he smiled and greeted her. "Hello Lin Fan, I'm Shenbei. Welcome." Shenbei. Lin Fan still remembered that he was the captain of the Guotai bodyguards. Last time, she was so busy looking at the big boss that she didn't pay attention to him. This time, she took a closer look and found that he was far from the bodyguard captain she imagined. He was about 1.8 meters tall, and his figure was covered by loose clothes, so it was hard to see clearly. He was in his 30s and had an ordinary appearance. In terms of appearance, he was one of the shorter people Lin Fan had met recently, but he looked very comfortable at first glance. The only thing that was more memorable was probably his buzz cut. It didn't look like the special hairstyle of the military, but it looked like he had just come out of prison, with his short scalp visible. It was so cold, and I didn't know if his head was cold. Looking at his posture and gait, Lin Fan felt familiar. It was easy to associate him with Song Ren and Li Chunhua. She should have been in the military department before, she thought with her eyes downcast. Seeing him send away the guards leading the way, close the door and look over, she remembered that she hadn't responded yet. Hello. Shenbei had seen her transform into a star and should be very familiar with her information, so there was no need to say more. Sit down, sit down. Shenbei looked like a good old man and asked Lin Fan to sit on the sofa in the office and turned around to pour her some water. After a brief greeting, he explained to her the specific arrangements for the visit. This time, there are quite a few people traveling with the delegation. Just follow me. Don't get too close and don't get too far away. But you don't need to be particularly alert. After all, you haven't received any training in this regard. Just if an emergency occurs, you have to pay attention. When I don't give you an order, your first priority is to protect yourself first. Shenbei said here and became serious. Once I give you an order, you must protect the big leader at the first time, at all costs. Lin Fan knew that the purpose of her trip was to protect the big leader, but she didn't expect that the order she received was to protect herself first. She couldn't help but be stunned. It's different from what you thought, Shenbei said with a smile. There are also many members of our national Taiwan security department who are dispatched. They cooperate well with each other, and ordinary unexpected situations are not a big problem. If you suddenly come in at this time, it will easily disrupt our rhythm. Lin Fan nodded. That's right. It's the most comfortable to talk to someone who is easy to communicate with. Shenbei smiled more deeply. And for us, the big leader is important, and you are equally important. If you are in danger, we also need to protect you. The big leader is a spiritual leader, and Lin Fan, as the fragile body of the strongest humanoid weapon Xingqian, must of course be protected. If it weren't for the recent special situation, Lin Fan would not be exposed to the eyes of outsiders. Fortunately, she can transform, so when she doesn't switch to Xingqian, she basically won't attract any attention. But the problem is that Lin Fan is a fragile person when she is out of the Xingqian state. But her importance is second only to the big leader and his wife, so this time the security department dispatched twice as many people as before, trying to take care of both sides. Last time, he was afraid that Xingqian would be a threat, so he stopped in front of the big leader twice in the reception hall. When he came back in the evening, he received an encrypted video. It was a video of a fight between a green mecha and a white mecha. Although the white mecha was different from the Xingqian he had seen, he could still recognize it as Xingqian. He watched the two mechas roll into a ball, watched Xingqian struggle to delay time, even though she was clearly not strong enough, watched her being nailed to the wall, watched her pull out the weapon that pierced her body to save her companions, and crawled to kill the enemy. In the end, the mecha retreated, and Lin Fan's pale face appeared in front of the camera. The two people hugged her and ran away in a panic, and the unstoppable blood flowed all over the ground. Shenbei frowned and watched the whole video. When he came back to his senses, his hands were full of sweat. Although he knew that Lin Fan was safe, he couldn't help but worry about the emergency at the time. How could such a thin and beautiful girl have such great strength and courage in order to save the lives of others without caring about her own life and death? Such a selfless and fearless spirit. How could she still need to be on guard? No wonder the big boss is very confident in Lin Fan. If you don't trust such a person, then there is really no one to trust. Shenbei's wariness towards Lin Fan also turned into admiration from that time. After learning about her fragile nature, he also put her safety first. No, I don't need anyone to protect me. Lin Fan waved her hands repeatedly. After the hellish training of the senior brother, although her body was still fragile, she was no longer the Ultraman of the past. Oh. Shenbei smiled when he knew that she had received training from the reserve team when she was in 800. I know they must have taught you some self-protection skills, but it is still very dangerous when you encounter real situations. It must be much more complicated than what you practice on weekdays. Lin Fan's true situation is still confidential information. Except for her research unit, only a few people in the top leaders know it. Shenbei knows some, but he is not particularly clear. Especially Lin Fan's increase in force value is also a recent thing. Even 800 is not particularly clear. Naturally, they will not notify Shenbei in time. According to the information Shenbei obtained, Lin Fan was sick in the early stage, and then he was well enough to exercise. There was a long recovery process. It would take only a few months to receive some physical training in self-defense skills. No matter how good it is, how good can it be? The little girl is just feeling good about herself. No, it's true. Lin Fan shook his head. Before I left 800, I was able to tie with Song Ren. You know Song Ren, right? This time it was Shen Bei's turn to be surprised. God of War Song Ren? The one who retired due to an injury? Yes, that's him. Lin Fan was happy to see Shen Bei knew Song Ren. Although he has reduced his strength, I can tie with him in terms of reaction speed. Explaining his own strength clearly can also prevent them from wasting unnecessary resources on him, and can focus the protection on the big leader and his wife. Oh. Shen Bei looked at her pretty face and slender neck, and then looked at her slender fingers, which were as beautiful as a hand without joints. Such a Lin Fan can actually tie with Song Ren. Then I have to ask for your advice. It's another fight scene. I hope that, after I write more, I can write better and better. Hehe. 3 consecutive One Dragon. Chapter 321 She deserves the stars. Shen Bei attacked very quickly. But no matter how fast he attacked, he couldn't be faster than Le Zheng Yuanqing. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Fan blocked his hand that was reaching for his face. Seeing that his surprise attack was unsuccessful, Shen Bei began to believe that there was some truth in what the girl said. The other hand attacked immediately. Lin Fan countered the move. After the sparring with Le Zheng Yuanqing yesterday, this level of probing was nothing to her. After 10 rounds, seeing that he had no intention of intensifying the offensive, Lin Fan even took the initiative to change from defense to offense and fought back. Shen Bei didn't have time to defend himself with both hands and raised his legs to kick, but Lin Fan blocked it with his legs and pushed up with his other knee at the same time. Both of them were sitting on the sofa, and their movements were not too big. When Shen Bei found that his limbs were easily clamped and he couldn't move, he finally believed what Lin Fan said. She really had the ability to protect herself and didn't need them to protect her too much. Although he deliberately tried to use less force, from Lin Fan's expression, it was clear that she had not tried her best. Great. Shen Bei exerted a little force and broke free from the clamp. Which master could teach you to be like this in such a short time? Lin Fan suddenly thought of the time when she was tortured before. With a sad face, the whole person drooped and sighed. Oh, don't mention it. Shen Bei knew that those days were unbearable to look back on when he saw her like this, but the effect was just right. I'm afraid that few people can catch up with your reaction speed. It shouldn't be Song Ren who taught you. He knew Song Ren, although he was great, but his main strength was physical fitness. The moves and routines he learned were also those taught in the military, but Lin Fan's moves were completely different, and he must have another famous teacher. He taught me, and he tortured me a lot. Lin Fan smiled. She thought that it was hard enough when she was at 800, but now she thinks that the intensity at that time can be regarded as a little bit of a stretch. But then again, if she PKs with Song Ren again now, she should be able to win, right? But recently, our institute has also specially found a senior to give me some special training, which has benefited me a lot. It is true that an old man in the family is like a treasure. The old guys in the special affairs office are all great treasures. You can improve to this level in such a short time. Shen Bei was surprised, thinking in his heart whether he should apply for further study at the special affairs office. Then you are good at speed? But Lin Fan thought about it. She didn't know what she was good at. I have been practicing cold weapons recently. I don't know if I'm good at it, but the senior pointed out that I'm not very good at using my body. I'm not very good at boxing and kicking, and I will have to strengthen this area when I have the chance. So you are not good at physical skills? Shen Bei didn't expect that fast speed was not her advantage. It's just that she is not good at boxing and kicking. To what extent? Come on, let's try again. I'll see how good you are. He stood up. There was an area in front of the sofa where you could move around. It wasn't particularly large, but it was no problem for 2 people to try a little. Seeing this, Lin Fan also stood up and took off a long down jacket. The room was heated, and it was still very warm. When she first came in, she felt a little hot, but as a newcomer, she was embarrassed to take off her clothes right away. After the previous attempts, her body was already hot, but she didn't have the chance to take off her clothes, which was just the right time. Shenbei saw that she was wearing a loose t-shirt with a big cartoon picture printed on the chest, loose sweat pants on the lower body, and fancy sneakers on her feet. It seemed that there was no difference from a high school girl. Who could tell that she was 37 years old this year? But thinking about Xingqian again, young, it didn't seem to be something difficult to accept. Let me tell you first, I don't have much strength, and I get bruised easily, so you should be a little more restrained. Lin Fan had been beaten by Lezing Yuanking many times, and seemed to be accustomed to fighting. But even though the body was stronger, the pain was still there. Since it was a friendly exchange, I had to say it in advance, and it would be as pain-free as possible. She felt that she was a little clever. Okay, I'll remember. I must be gentle. Shenbei attacked with a smile, and the first punch went to his face. Lin Fan saw his movements, as if in slow motion, turned sideways, and tapped his wrist. Shenbei felt his arm numb, and the other punch was easily resolved. After dozens of moves, he felt that Lin Fan seemed to be able to easily predict his movements. Every time he punched and raised his foot, she would easily block it. He had also been instructed by a master of ancient martial arts, and knew that Lin Fan was following the path of ancient martial arts. It not only combines acupoint attacks, but also transforms power. There is a system in the changes of moves, which is natural. After more than a dozen big and open attacks, he found that, if he didn't add strength, he couldn't break her defense at all. Her moves, prediction, and speed were all better than his. The only thing that could beat her was probably strength. Although Lin Fan had just arrived, as the host he had to give way to her. But if he lost on his own territory, he would lose face, right? Lin Fan felt that Shenbei's strength began to increase gradually forming an overwhelming trend, and she began to feel exhausted. The ancient said that one strength can defeat 10 skills, and it is still very reasonable. Unable to support herself, she revealed an open door, and was punched in the ribs by Shenbei. She gasped and took 2 steps back. Shenbei also stopped his attack, looked at his fist in suspicion, and looked at Lin Fan. Are you okay? He knew that, when he was able to hit Lin Fan, he had already unloaded most of his strength, so the punch should not be heavy. It's okay. Lin Fan bared his teeth, and covered his ribs, waving his hand at him. It hit the old wound. This place happened to be cut by the sword of the senior brother yesterday, and it was burning at the time. When I went back to see it in the evening, it was indeed red. No matter how heavy Shenbei's punches, it will not make her feel good if he hits her here. Why are there still old injuries? Seeing her like this, Shenbei stopped beating her and quickly asked her to sit down. Is it that the previous puncture wound has not healed yet? Is it serious? Do you want to go to the infirmary? Seeing the place where Lin Fan was covering her body, he couldn't help but think of the previous video. No. Lin Fan shook his head. Seeing his worried face, he didn't want to lift his clothes directly. After thinking for a while, he rolled up his sleeves and stretched out his arm to show him. Well, it's like this. It's nothing. Don't worry. There was also a mark on her arm, which was caused by the sword of the senior brother at the beginning of yesterday. Now it has begun to turn purple. Shenbei breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that it was just a bruise. Looking closely again, there were some shallow green and yellow marks hidden in the cuffs. Don't you special affairs office cherish you very much? Why do you have so many injuries on your body? Lin Fan didn't know how many times she was abused by Lezing Yuanking and Zioyao sect before, and there were countless bruises on her body. Fortunately, with her improved ability recently, she was almost never hit again. But the previous bruises have not completely subsided, and Shenbei didn't expect to see them clearly. She smiled and rolled up her sleeves. Are you talking about this? Her fair arms were covered with deep and light purple and yellow. It looked like it was definitely caused by long-term accumulation. With so many on her arms, there must be a lot on her body. If it was someone else, Shenbei would definitely call the police. He frowned. How did you do that? Lin Fan put down his sleeves and chuckled. Practice. Only those who endure hardships can become the best. I wasn't so good before. A month ago, I just tied with Song Ren. It's already amazing to be able to tie with Song Ren. Shenbei thought to himself. He also had a new understanding of Lin Fan's character. Diligent, tenacious, and not afraid of hardship. No wonder she has grown so much in a short period of time. Seeing her smiling and relaxed, not taking these things seriously at all, Shenbei's good impression of her arose spontaneously. Lin Fan is worthy of Xingqian. Lin Fan is working hard to catch up with Xingqian, and the process of becoming stronger is very hard. Come and vote. Chapter 322 The Forgotten Appearance. We also have female bodyguards in our team. They are bound to get bumped during training, but none of them are as bad as you. Shenbei asked her to sit down and refilled her cup with hot water. Not competing anymore? Lin Fan was stunned and sat over. What are you competing for? You're covered in wounds. It would be fine if Shenbei didn't know, but if he knew, he would definitely not be able to do it. I thought you were going to test my weapon skills. I'm familiar with that. Lin Fan picked up the hot water, blew on it, and took a sip. A stream of heat flowed from his throat to his heart. It was so comfortable. No need. Shenbei also poured himself a cup. You said before that your worst boxing and body movements are already like this, not to mention your best weapons. What else is there to test? I'm afraid I'll only be embarrassed when the time comes. This is not entirely a joke. No matter how hard your fists are, they are still afraid of kitchen knives. At present, it seems that Lin Fan is pretty good in all aspects. The worst thing is his strength, but it is also much better than ordinary people. This is indeed a weakness, but it is also a natural individual difference of women. Even if she trains in the future, it may not be able to make up for it much. Besides, she is good at weapons, fast, and accurate in prediction. This is already stronger than most people. Why should she use her weaknesses to fight against others? She is not stupid. Lin Fan received the compliment and smiled shyly. Are you all not prepared to increase your strength? Shenbei looked at the silly look of the little girl and asked with concern. You may only lack this aspect now. Although no one is perfect, he still thinks that Lin Fan may still be able to improve. It seems not. Lin Fan scratched his head. Because my physical strength is shared with Xingqian. If I overconsume my physical strength, it will affect Xingqian. She told Shenbei that she could only rely on eating to replenish her physical strength. Now I try to eat as much as possible to replenish my energy, save energy for later, and extend the standby time of Xingqian. So normally, I won't do anything that consumes too much energy. For example, lifting weights. Shenbei finally understood. Do you need to eat now? I just had a fight. I can't do that. Haha. If Lin Fan was alone, she would definitely be eating now. It's okay. Just do whatever you want. I'm just chatting with you anyway. It's important for you to replenish your energy. Shenbei said with a smile. I'm easy to talk to. You'll know after getting along for a long time. What can be more important than Xingqian? Okay. Lin Fan nodded. Since Shenbei said so, she wasn't polite. Sooner or later, she would eat in front of them anyway. Sooner or later, and it wouldn't matter if it was 1 or 2 days. After this period of time, she has left a shadow on the senior brother. Whenever there is a fight, she habitually replenishes energy to prevent sudden blood loss. I can't eat now, and I feel a little itchy. Shenbei saw her dragging the bulging backpack over, and when he opened it, he saw snacks all inside. Do you eat like this every day? Shenbei saw her take out a Snickers bar, tear open the package, and finish it in a few bites. He then took the trash can and placed it at her feet. Thank you. Lin Fan smiled and touched another cheese roll. That's about right. These are snacks. Meals are for meals, and I eat a lot. Shenbei didn't know how much a lot she said, but he thought it was really a lot. Then how long can you eat this bag? 2 or 3 days. Lin Fan said, it depends on how much you eat, and whether you have time to eat on the way. And you can't eat all the time. You always have to give your mouth a rest. To be honest, if you chew for a long time, your mouth will get tired. But at present, the duration of Xingqian is not stable yet, so Lin Fan decided to suffer first and then enjoy, and try to give Xingqian the whole 24-hour standby. Shenbei just watched Lin Fan chewing with his mouth puffed up, like a little squirrel. At first, I thought it was cute, but I thought it was hard work. It's not easy for you. A girl never gets fat, no matter how much she eats, and behind that is the powerful consumption of the Mecha. and in order to extend the life of the mecha, she has to keep chewing. Think about her injuries, and she has to go on a mission. Shenbei believes that he is not a sentimental person, but at this moment, he can't help but feel complicated. No. Lin Fan smiled and waved his hands. You don't know how much I'm paid now. Haha, I get so much money, but I don't do so much work. How bad it is. And there is a medal of bravery. I have to work hard to make up for the credit, right? Shenbei saw her smiling face without any reluctance. It was hard to imagine that she had such a serious mental illness before, and it was said that she almost died. Fortunately, if such an optimistic and positive person were gone, how boring the world would be. With Shenbei's deliberate indulgence, Lin Fan felt the kindness of the people of Guotai. While she was eating, Shenbei carefully told her the details of the relevant tasks and answered her questions one by one. Lin Fan felt like he was a close brother, the kind that was more intimate than the neighbor's brother. After explaining what needed to be explained, Lin Fan's tonic came to an end. Shenbei personally sent her back to her room and took her to dinner at dinner time. Although she had prepared herself mentally, she couldn't help but feel shocked when she saw how much Lin Fan ate. After secretly converting all these foods into energy, she had a vague understanding of the consumption of stars. After dinner, Lin Fan wanted to take a walk to digest the food. After all, she would still feel full after eating too much. Shenbei accompanied her all the way, strolling in Guotai Garden for more than half an hour before sending her back. Lin Fan began to feel sleepy after eating and drinking, and she had to get up early the next day. After washing up, she lay down on the bed and prepared to sleep. Become rich. I become rich. How many people waste time day and night? The new mobile phone rang. Lin Fan suddenly remembered that she forgot to call John Woo. When she touched the phone, it was indeed him. Hello, Lin Fan. Wu Yusen heard no sound from the other side for a long time. Are you asleep? It was just past 9 o'clock. Normally, Lin Fan should not go to bed so early. Yeah, I just laid down. If you hadn't called, I would have forgotten. Lin Fan is not a person who is so keen on chatting with others, nor is she used to reporting her schedule to others. However, she was on a mission alone in Guotai, and Wu Yusen was afraid that she was a novice, so it was normal to worry. Lin Fan secretly made up her mind to remember to contact him more in the future and not let him worry about everything. How is it? Did you adapt to it today? Wu Yusen knew that she would forget and asked with a smile. Are the people in Guotai easy to get along with? Pretty good. Lin Fan turned over in bed. The guard took me directly to the bodyguard Captain Shenbei. I feel he is a good person. Shenbei? Wu Yusen had heard this name last time at ZHU Kunjin's place, and he was not sure if he knew this person. What does he look like? He looks. Lin Fan paused at the tip of her tongue. What does Shenbei look like? She couldn't remember it at all. A handsome guy on the left and a strong man on the right. Wow, Lin Fan is so lucky. I'm drooling with envy. Chapter 323 The Benefits of Having a Weak Presence. Lin Fan's memory has been getting better and better since it was upgraded. Although it is not yet at the level of photographic memory, it is impossible for someone who saw it during the day to not remember it at night. But now, she thought about it, but she couldn't remember what Shenbei looked like. She only remembered that he seemed to look very ordinary and easygoing. Lin Fan turned over and sat up. There must be something wrong. What's wrong? Wu Yusen waited for a long time on the other end and only heard the noise of he and Sozo. You may not believe it. Lin Fan sighed helplessly, holding his head with one hand, wondering if he had the precursor of Alzheimer's disease. I can't remember what Shenbei looks like at all. Wu Yusen was stunned for a moment, then he thought of what was going on and smiled. So you encountered this? What? Lin Fan heard Wu Yusen's tone, as if he knew, and asked hurriedly. You know the trick of the eyes. Wu Yusen was lying on the sofa in his home, playing with the relief on the lighter. I seem to know. Lin Fan rolled his eyes and recalled. I have seen it on TV, and in novels more than once, so I should know it. When Wu Yusen heard Lin Fan say seems, he knew that she didn't know, and explained with a smile. It is a method of using certain means and skills to cover or divert other people's sight. Yeah, I've seen it in a novel. It uses the 5-element and 8 trigrams to make people ignore things that are right in front of them. Lin Fan seemed to remember which novel he had seen it in. Isn't that what he was talking about? Who said that reading novels is useless? Isn't it full of knowledge? Wu Yusen couldn't say that the novel was wrong for a moment. After all, the truth was the same. There are many types of means and techniques, including the use of the 5-element and 8 trigrams as you said, and others. In short, it is to create an illusion for people. Are you saying that Shenbei used a sleight of hand on me? Lin Fan thought about it and felt that it was unreasonable. Why? In addition to the active means I just mentioned, there is another situation, which is a passive talent. Even if he had never seen Shenbei, Wu Yusen could probably judge it, a natural weak sense of presence. What is that? Lin Fan had never heard of this word. How can I explain it to you? You know that some people have a strong presence, right? For example, the eldest brother, no matter how many people are in between, you can see him at first sight. Wu Yusen thought for a while, and still used someone she was familiar with as an example. That's for sure, his eyes are so scary to anyone who looks at them. Lin Fan moved her butt and leaned against the head of the bed, and she was no longer sleepy for a while. But it is undeniable that, as long as he stands there, he is an existence that is hard to ignore, right? Wu Yusen used himself as an example again. For example, if Song Ren and I stand together, who will you notice first visually? That must be Song Ren. Lin Fan thought to himself. Song Ren's face is originally more handsome than Wu Yusen's, and he is a little taller. Because he has been in the military for a long time, his posture is straight and his muscles are strong. Because he doesn't like to talk, he still has a little abstinence. As for Wu Yusen, of course he is also handsome, but not so eye-catching. And his temperament is not so straight, but more casual and loose. Although he was very friendly when he smiled, if we only talk about the first impression, Song Ren beat Wu Yusen in seconds. Obviously, Wu Yusen didn't really want her to answer, and continued, your former classmates and colleagues always have the kind of people who are lost in the crowd, right? You know there is such a person, but you can't remember anything when you think about it, and it's especially easy to ignore. Lin Fan probably knew what he wanted to express. So you mean Shenbei is also such a person? I think so. Wu Yusen nodded. First of all, he has no need to use a trick on you. Shenbei had seen who Lin Fan was before, and he was also a colleague who went on a mission together this time. He had no motivation to use a trick on her. Secondly, in terms of his professional needs, a weak sense of presence is simply the best auxiliary talent. Wu Yusen knew that many people had a weak sense of presence to a greater or lesser extent, but there were not many people who were so weak that people couldn't remember their appearance when they turned around. Unexpectedly, Lin Fan also encountered one. What do you mean? He's a bodyguard. What's the main responsibility of a bodyguard? To protect the employer, right? But if you're too conspicuous, you'll attract unnecessary attention to the employer. John Woo explained. So bodyguards don't stand out in appearance, they even blend in with the crowd, the kind that's hard to spot in a crowd, so they can perform their duties better. If you don't believe me, look back. The bodyguards accompanying the group this time all look pretty ordinary. I'm not saying they're ugly, I just don't look like the kind on TV. Handsome men and pretty women, the kind that stand out. It's not that good looking people can't do their job, but as a bodyguard, it's really not as convenient to be good looking as to be average looking. Otherwise, as soon as you show up, people will stare at you, and the employer's security pressure will increase for no reason. Isn't it troublesome? Is that so? I thought they didn't look for good looking bodyguards, because they were afraid of overshadowing their masters. Lin Fan muttered in a low voice. Wu Yusen smiled. Private bodyguards do not rule out the possibility of what you said, but this is the national stage. There is no competition for the limelight. The bodyguards around the big leaders, those who are not noticeable, but can handle things on their own are the most useful. Lin Fan nodded. This is true. After all, they are the pillars of the country, and safety is the first factor. Then people like them, if they don't follow the right path, it won't be very convenient. Lin Fan began to think divergently again. Yes, but this is a personal character issue. It has nothing to do with talent. It's just that, if this kind of people commit a crime, it is indeed harder to catch than others. Wu Yusen pinched the root of his nose. He encountered it once and asked the witnesses, but no one could remember what the person looked like. Later, he retrieved the surveillance and finally found the person, but he forgot what he looked like when he turned around, so he had to print out the photo and carry it with him for comparison. In this way, he almost let the person go when he passed by. Fortunately, he subconsciously felt that something was wrong and took out the photo to take a look, otherwise he didn't know how long it would take. Lin Fan laughed out loud after hearing this and could imagine how passive Wu Yusen was at the beginning. Wu Yusen didn't mind, and after she finished laughing, she asked about what happened today. Knowing that there was a small competition in the afternoon, Lin Fan was a little tempted when he didn't beat the opponent. Should he try it too? Let Lin Fan not take weapons? The two of them hung up before chatting for too long. When Lin Fan was wrapped in the quilt, he couldn't help but think about Shen Bei's appearance. Those eyes seemed. There seemed to be a vague image in his mind, but it was not very clear. I don't know. When I fell asleep the next day, it was the knock on the door that woke her up. Lin Fan rolled out of the bed and touched her phone. Fortunately, I didn't sleep. The person outside the door was still knocking 3 times without rushing or slowing. In fact, the sound was not loud, but she had sharp ears. Anyway, the alarm time was almost up. Lin Fan put on a coat and went to open the door. I thought it was Shen Bei, but when the door opened, it was an unexpected face. Sen Fangyuan? Does anyone remember who this is? Hahaha, I came up with this name with great difficulty. How can I use it only once? What a waste. Vote. Chapter 324. Sen Fangyuan kept in the dark. Sen Fangyuan was still wearing a dark suit, white shirt, and dark tie. His hair was waxed and combed neatly, and he looked very gentle, no different from a few months ago. When he saw Lin Fan called out his name, his eyes behind the gold-rimmed glasses lit up slightly, and the corners of his mouth curled up even more. Long time no see, Lin Fan. Who is Sen Fangyuan? Last year, there was a forest fire, and Lin Fan and the 623 team rushed to put out the fire overnight. He was the commander-in-chief of the fire scene at that time. Long time no see. But why are you here? Lin Fan didn't react for a while. Sen Fangyuan smiled and lowered his head. I was originally working in the Taiwan Affairs office. If you want to ask why I'm standing at your door. Shen Bei was transferred to a task and left early. I was afraid that no one would take care of you, so I volunteered to come. Shen Bei made an appointment with Lin Fan last night to pick her up in the morning. But suddenly he received a notice to go to the airport early. When Sen Fangyuan heard Lin Fan's name and knew that she was the girl he had met once, he took the initiative to propose to pick her up on behalf of Shen Bei. Lin Fan stood at the door, not knowing what to say for a moment. Are you sure we should just stand at the door and talk? Sen Fangyuan raised his hand and pretended to check the time. Time waits for no one. Oh, please come in. Hearing him say that, Lin Fan quickly stepped aside and let the man in. When Sen Fangyuan walked past her and entered the room, she belatedly remembered that it was not good to let a strange man come in so easily. However, Sen Fangyuan was about the same height as her and thin, so he should not pose any threat. And this is Guote. Well, don't think of people so badly. Lin Fan silently criticized herself in her heart. Well, you sit down. Lin Fan greeted politely. But after Sen Fangyuan entered the living room and stood still, he did not move again. I won't sit down. Because I don't know what specific arrangements Shen Bei has made for you. I can only come here in advance and tell you what we are going to do next. Oh, okay. Lin Fan stood aside and listened obediently. After you pack all your luggage, we'll go directly to the cafeteria. Shen Bei said that you take a long time to eat, right? An hour should be enough, right? Sen Fangyuan's voice was sonorous and straightforward. Enough. Lin Fan nodded. Normally, she would also eat for about an hour. After dinner, we'll go directly to the airport to meet up with the others. The members of the follow-up group have all gone there one after another. We won't go with them, but go alone. Any other questions? If not, start packing now. You have. Sen Fangyuan looked at the watch. 1 hour to change clothes. backpack and put on Macup. Is that enough? Enough. Lin Fan replied straightforwardly. Changing clothes was quick, and the luggage was not unpacked yesterday, so it was easy to pack. As for Macup, simply applying a little lipstick or something should be enough. Okay, I'll wait for you outside. Sen Fangyuan didn't know how efficient Lin Fan was, but he admired her straightforwardness. He stood outside the door, scrolling through the news, and then checking the messages in the work group. Not long after, the door behind him opened. I'm ready. Sen Fangyuan glanced at the watch. It was only more than half an hour later. Look at Lin Fan again. She was wearing a black suit, and she didn't wear a shirt underneath. Instead, she had a long sea blue silk scarf with floral patterns draped diagonally inside her collar, revealing a narrow edge with floral patterns, which was fashionable and beautiful. Her hair had been neatly tied up at the back of her head, not a single strand out of place, which made her young face look much more stable. It was hard to tell whether she was wearing Macup or not. Her face was white and tender, very natural, only her mouth was red, obviously because she was wearing lipstick. She was wearing straight-leg trousers that covered her ankles, and a pair of black low-heeled leather shoes on her feet. She was dragging a suitcase with a backpack on top of it, and a down jacket on her other arm. How is it? Lin Fan was unsure as she watched Sen Fangyuan sizing her up without saying a word. This was the first time she had dressed like this, so it should look good, and Jin Sichin's taste was impeccable. But whether it was in accordance with the rules was up to Sen Fangyuan to decide. Take a turn and see. Sen Fangyuan didn't see anything wrong. Lin Fan turned around obediently. The small crystal hair accessories on the bun were not too eye-catching, and the small diamond earrings on the ears were not exaggerated. There was also a small corsage on the collar, which was delicate and not ostentatious. Sen Fangyuan nodded. No problem. It looks good. Thank you. Lin Fan grinned. It's always nice to be praised. After making sure that Lin Fan was ready, Sen Fangyuan took out a work card from her handbag and gave it to her. Since you are ready, let's go eat. It's better to finish eating early and go earlier. It's better if you have more time. Lin Fan took it and saw that it was a work card for the visiting group. There was a headshot of her on it, and her name and position were marked in bilingual. Her current position is special assistant. Without saying a word, she put it on her neck, refused Sen Fangyuan's help, and pushed the luggage to the restaurant by herself. After a meal, Sen Fangyuan realized that the meaning of taking a long time to eat was not that she ate slowly, but that she ate a lot. Although his face did not change, he was inevitably shocked in his heart. Lin Fan looks very slim and doesn't look like she can eat so much. Sen Fangyuan still doesn't know that Lin Fan can transform into a Mecha. He just saw the silhouette of Mecha from a distance in the tent and thought she was one of the Mecha pilots. He is the kind of person who knows a little, but not much. At present, the only people who know that Lin Fan can transform are the top leaders, Shen Ben's 4 bodyguards, and 2 confidential secretaries. If Sen Fangyuan was there last time, he would naturally know. But since he didn't know, no one would go to tell him specifically. He didn't dare to take too long to eat breakfast, because Lin Fan was afraid that he would arrive too late. But when they arrived at the airport, they still attracted a lot of attention. Shen Bei had been waiting at the airport for a long time. Seeing them arrive, he greeted them with a smile and took Lin Fan's luggage. Only then did Lin Fan overlap him with the vague face in his memory. It really doesn't feel special. Why can't I remember it? Shen Bei first sent her luggage to the check-in counter. He also helped her carry the snack bag and led the people forward. These are 3 colleagues from our bodyguard team. They have seen you in the reception hall before. Shen Bei pointed to the 3 muscular men standing at the door of the VIP lounge and introduced them. Lin Fan understood instantly. These 3 had also seen his transformation and nodded politely. The other 3 obviously recognized Lin Fan and nodded with a smile, then focused on guarding the surroundings. After entering the lounge, Shen Bei introduced him to 2 other confidential secretaries who had also seen her transformation. Everyone's attitude was very kind, which made Lin Fan put down some of his uneasiness. Xiaolin, come on. The big boss also saw Lin Fan and waved to her with a smile. Shen Bei saw her standing there and gently pushed her from behind. Go. This was the third time Lin Fan had met the big boss, and she was still nervous. She didn't even realize that her hands and feet were synchronized. The big boss hadn't seen such a cute child for a long time. Even the boss's wife thought the child was silly and a little funny. Lin Fan sat stiffly on the sofa opposite the big boss. She answered whatever the other party asked. She wanted to explain everything about her ancestors. Shenberry finally came to notify them to board the plane. Lin Fan watched the big boss and his wife leave and breathed a sigh of relief. The psychological quality is too poor, too poor. Before she could finish her sigh, Shenberry came to call her again. Why are you still standing there? Let's go. Where to? Lin Fan said in a daze. Where else can we go? Shenberry didn't know whether to laugh or cry. We have to sit with the leader. Have you forgotten? We can't be too far away. Lin Fan stood there in a daze. Damn. She really forgot. This is how ordinary people should act when they meet their leaders. Chapter 325 The Old Man's Thoughtfulness. Lin Fan thought she would be sitting on a smaller plane, but it turned out to be no different from the big plane she had been on before. When she walked to the boarding gate, she suddenly remembered that she had not passed J yet, so she quietly approached Shenberry and asked, "You don't have to go through the special channel that Sen Fang Yuan took you through, so don't worry." Shenberry looked at Lin Fan, who looked like she had never seen the world, and couldn't help laughing. "Why, is it your first time going out?" "Yes." Lin Fan nodded indifferently. There was nothing to be embarrassed about. It was not shameful. "It's okay, don't be nervous." Shenberry nodded at her shoulder soothingly. "The moon is round everywhere." Lin Fan couldn't help laughing when she heard it, and then quickly covered her mouth. The nervousness in her heart was much less. They entered from the door on the front side of the plane. There was a set of seats with a table in the cabin, and 8 seats arranged in a herringbone shape at the back. The seats were all tilted towards the window, and seemed to be no different from the first class seats she had sat in before, and they could all be laid flat. The entire cabin looked simple, without any extra decorations, and there wasn't even a partition for the first class cabin. The small cabin actually looked empty. Lin Fan had been thinking about how luxurious it was, but it was completely different from what she had imagined. Aren't there bedrooms, bars, and everything else? Where did she see this information? Is this the first class cabin? Lin Fan asked Shenberry in a low voice. It looked a bit like it, but not quite. "No, this is the front cabin. The first class cabin is at the back, where some of the accompanying G crew members are sitting. The economy cabin at the back is occupied by our staff, and there are some other accompanying personnel." So many people. Lin Fan widened her eyes in surprise. The accompanying personnel boarded the plane first. After they were settled, they were notified to board the plane last. So of course she couldn't see anything. There are 132 people this time, which is not a lot. If we hadn't brought a K inspection team this time, the number would be even less. Lin Fan nodded, not quite understanding, and then he heard the old man in front of him speak. "Xiao Lin, what are you whispering to Xiao Shen about? Come and sit down." He had already sat down at the table. Sen Fang Yuan and another secretary were placing some documents on the table. When they heard this, they turned around to look at her. The lady was sitting in the back row of seats, and also looked at her with interest. To them, she was a new person. "Don't scare the children." The lady smiled and said to Lin Fan kindly, "Xiao Lin, right? Find a place to sit by yourself. You don't have to sit next to us. Just make yourself comfortable." Lin Fan didn't expect the lady to directly refute the old man's words in front of outsiders. Looking at the old man smiling again, he didn't care at all. These two people, as reported in the news, really have a very good relationship. Looking at the two 60-year-olds, who have lived for most of their lives, their relationship is still so harmonious, like an ordinary couple who support each other and love each other deeply. She was moved and envious in her heart, and she couldn't tell what she felt. The warm feeling suddenly diluted her nervousness. The halo that made her look up to him suddenly became less strong. The old man was a leader, but he was also a living ordinary person. Lin Fan held her snack bag and nodded to several people as she walked. She walked to the last row, the corner farthest from them, and sat down quietly. She thought someone else was going to come up, but she didn't expect that she heard the sound of the cabin door closing. As soon as she sat down, another person walked in from the entrance of the passage. He was one of the bodyguards who had just been guarding the door of the lounge. Seeing Lin Fan looking at him, he smiled at her and sat down at the first seat at the door. Shenbei was originally going to sit in another seat by the door, but was called over by the old man. Lin Fan saw him leaning over to listen for a while, then he walked over to her side and sat in the empty seat next to her. "Don't you need to sit in the front?" Seeing that no one was paying attention to this side, Lin Fan leaned over and asked in a very low voice. Shenbei also leaned over and replied in a low voice, "No." The old man was afraid that you would be uncomfortable alone, so he asked me to come and accompany you. So you don't have to speak so quietly. He hopes you can feel more comfortable. Lin Fan glanced at the old man who had already started to concentrate on his work, and his eyes were sore again. An indescribable emotion surged in his heart, full and swollen. "So you don't have to be so cautious." Shenbei's voice was a little louder, making it sound less laborious, but it would not affect the person in front. Lin Fan was not a stingy person, but she didn't know what to do, so she was timid. With Shenbei's guidance, she followed his instructions, and it would never go wrong, and her voice was a little louder. "If we talk like this, it won't affect." She nodded her chin forward. Shenbei turned their chairs to an angle to facilitate conversation. "No. When he's working, he can't hear anything in his ears. This is full dedication." Lin Fan nodded. "What about the wife?" "The wife usually wears headphones to listen to music on the plane to reduce the discomfort caused by ear pressure. So we won't disturb them if we talk at this volume." Shenbei gestured to her to be at ease. Only then did Lin Fan feel relieved and spoke less restrained. "Huh, that's good. To be honest, I don't know what to do." "I can see that." Shenbei smiled and gestured for her to look at his hands. He was holding the backpack tightly, and he didn't notice that his fingers were white. The old man saw that she was so nervous and worried, so he specially asked him to come over to accompany her. Lin Fan embarrassedly let go of her hand and wiped it twice to cover up. He quickly found a topic to cover up the embarrassment. "I don't know where I saw the news before, but I always thought that this place should have bedrooms, bars, and be very luxurious. It turns out that it is not." She chuckled. "Sure enough, you can't believe it unless you see it with your own eyes. Actually, you are right. It was like this before." Shenbei smiled, "But now they are borrowing ordinary planes." "Is this an ordinary plane?" Lin Fan thought about the appearance of the plane he saw at the boarding gate before. "No wonder. Why does it look so familiar?" Shenbei smiled. "Yes." The old man said that he only uses it a few times a year. For this reason, it is not cost effective to keep an aircraft that can operate normally parked in the warehouse. So when we are not borrowing it, it is just an ordinary plane, and it can fly as it should. Every time Shenbei told this to someone, the other party had an expression of disbelief on his face. He was actually used to seeing it, but he still felt happy. "Awesome." Lin Fan looked at the old man who was working hard and gave him a big thumbs up in his heart. The virtue of thrift and housekeeping has been brought to the extreme here. Thinking of my previous stinginess, no, I also had the habit of being thrifty. Suddenly, I felt a sense of pride. Let's see if I can solve this problem. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.